The cultivation family. I begin by taking a concubine and practicing the art of the sun and moon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201. Let's go to Fog Valley together. Zhou Daocheng looked embarrassed and said, I just want to go home, so you won't say I look like a thief. Zhao Yunzhi couldn't help but rolled his eyes and said angrily, you didn't enter through the main entrance. You found your way in from nowhere, and then paddled a boat into the island alone. You don't look like a thief. Who does? What, are you planning to move with these more than 20 storage bags? Zhou Daocheng scratched his head helplessly, and it was difficult to refute. After all, he had been away for several months. It was really unjustifiable to leave Zhao Yunzhi alone in Bailin Lake without even an explanation. Strictly speaking, as Taoist couples, the two are partners on the path to immortality, and they are considered the closest people. However, many things about Zhou Daocheng were not known to Zhao Yunzhi. Even from the beginning, the relationship between the two was unequal. Zhao Yunzhi was forced to marry Zhou Dao and became a concubine because of a family crisis. After that, he directly used spiritual mystical methods to control him. This was not a relationship that a normal Taoist couple should have at all. At this moment, Zhou Daocheng suddenly had thousands of thoughts in his mind. Perhaps many times, his feelings for Zhao Yunzhi were limited to physical lust and the need for the innate purple energy. For a moment, Zhou Daocheng's heart suddenly felt a little heavy. After a long time, he slowly said, Yunzhi, why don't you go to Foggy Valley with me? Fog Valley? Zhao Yunzhi asked in surprise. That newly built city? Yes, the training environment there is better. With your talent, you might be able to break through to the foundation building stage faster. What should we do here in Bailin Lake? Zhao Yunzhi frowned. After Zhou Daocheng thought about it for a while, he said, don't worry. Bailin Lake will be managed by Keen Lion, the head of the family. It will be used as a granary in the back to plant spiritual grains, breed spiritual fish, and provide daily cultivation needs. But the focus of future development will gradually shift to Foggy Valley. The cultivation environment there can help us reach a higher state. Hearing this, a glimmer of hope appeared in Zhao Yunzhi's eyes. As a second spiritual root monk, how could she be willing to live in the small wide-scale lake? If she stays here all the time and is in a state of lack of cultivation resources for a long time, no matter how high her cultivation talent is, it will be difficult for her to break through to foundation building. What's more, her skills are also an important constraint for her to improve her strength. Keeping her strength stuck at the 8th level of Qi refining, it is no exaggeration to say that Zhao Yunzhi, as a genius monk with the second spirit root, practiced a set of incomplete second-level low-grade exercises. He only had the 8th level of Qi refining in his 20s and was almost ruined by the small family of the Zhao family. If there is not much opportunity, it is likely to stop building the foundation in the end. Even if you do not change the technique, it will be very troublesome to break through the foundation building. This is the journey of cultivation. Talent is innate, but many people waste their talents due to various circumstances. Only the combination of talent, luck, and perseverance can we go further on this road. After Zhao Yunzhi thought for a long time, he still asked with some worry, have you established a foothold in Wugu Valley? Immortal cultivators have sinister hearts. I'm afraid the cultivation environment there will be equally difficult. Zhou Daocheng was stunned and said with a smile, don't worry, if I'm not completely sure, I won't let the Zhou family members pass. Zhao Yunzhi nodded slightly. He still knew about the previous transfer of the Zhou family. Zhou Daocheng added another sentence, saying, if you are willing, you can also ask the Zhao family to come together. It should be beneficial to the development of the Zhao family. But as soon as these words came out, Zhao Yunzhi shook his head like a rattle and glanced at Zhou Daocheng speechlessly. That's not necessary. Although I don't have much feelings for the Zhao family anymore, I still let the Zhao family keep a seed. I'm afraid that if I continue to follow the Zhou family, I might be wiped out. Hearing this, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but his mouth twitched and his head was covered with black lines. But he really had no reason to refute this. Zhao Yunzhi clearly saw what the Zhou family had gone through over the years. They were massacred twice in succession, and not even a few people were left alive. If it weren't for the support of a few people from the Dao generation and the desperate resistance of the older generation, these two massacres would have been enough to completely destroy a family. As for the Zhao family, although Zhao Yunzhi didn't have much favorable impressions in his heart, it was the family he was born into after all, not to mention giving back to the family. At least he couldn't lead them into a pit of fire. Zhou Daocheng waved his hand helplessly and said, "That's all. Then you can come with me. This talent of yours cannot be wasted." After the two agreed, Zhou Daocheng went to see the family leader Zhu Qingyi again and handed Balin Lake to the old family leader. Perhaps he can no longer be called the head of the family now, because the position of the head of the Zhou family has been handed over to his eldest brother Zhu Daobai. Today, Zhu Qingyi can only be regarded as one of the elders of the Zhou family, but every surviving member of the Zhou family still has respect for the former head of the family. Perhaps he did not bring better development to the Zhou family, but he at least allowed the family to survive. All of the disasters he experienced were beyond the expectations and resistance of the old family leader. His abilities were indeed limited, but he was also conscientious. Zhou Daocheng did the same and cautiously visited his great-grandfather. But when he saw it for the first time, he couldn't help but feel a sore nose, and he felt a mixture of emotions in his heart. Zhu Qingyi's hair is completely gray. He is sitting in a wooden wheelchair. His legs can no longer move. Although his eyes are still firm, he is already a little tired. However, Zhu Qingyi was still very happy to see Zhou Daocheng come back. Instead of being stern as before, he showed a kind smile. This scene made Zhou Daocheng feel even more uncomfortable. The transfer of power in the family was much faster than he imagined. The older generation can no longer bear the tremendous pressure, while the younger generation has grown up in hatred and takes on the great task of inheritance. "Grandpa, your legs." Zhu Qingyi smiled and waved. "Don't worry, I'm old and don't need it anymore. I just enjoy the blessing in a wheelchair." Zhou Daocheng sighed. He heard from his elder brother Zhu Daobai that his legs were almost useless, and even with high-quality elixirs, it would be difficult to recover. Although he felt uncomfortable, Zhou Daocheng didn't mention it further and got down to business as soon as possible. After listening to Zhou Daocheng, Zhu Qingyi just nodded and said kindly, "Do what thoughts you want. The Zhou family can't stay in Balin Lake for the rest of their lives. I will help you take care of it. You can go out and explore." Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "Well, I will arrange the formation here to protect Balin Lake as much as possible. From now on, this place will mainly be used as the rear area to store various supplies and plant some spiritual grains. For the specific situation, Grandpa, you can make arrangements. If you encounter trouble, you can go to the valley in front and find a casual cultivator named Keenlai for help. He is mine." Chapter 202, Long-Lost Lovemaking. Zhu Dao is meticulous and arranges all matters, big and small. This is what he had expected a long time ago. Balin Gushan is in a comfortable position and is not easily discovered by other monks. If it is protected by the formation, it will be even safer. However, the spiritual energy here is relatively low and is not suitable for planting precious elixirs, so only some low-level spiritual grains can be planted. However, these most basic cultivation resources are also very important. At the same time, there are a large number of underwater caves here, which can hide resources, tribesmen, etc. in Balin Lake, which greatly improves safety. Therefore, his arrangement was the result of careful consideration. Zhu Qingyi did not have any objections and agreed to all these things. He is no longer fit to charge into battle, so it might be a good idea to stay here to guard the rear. After paying homage to the great-grandfather, Zhou Daocheng worked non-stop and began to arrange formations around Balin Lake. This time when he came back from Foggy Valley, he brought back a lot of fog breath stones, which were specially used to set up the maze formation. If it were before, he would definitely arrange attack and defense formations as much as possible, but Wugu's second-level mist formation changed his mind. Each formation has its own function. If it is only used for cover and concealment, The maze formation is naturally the most suitable. Moreover, during this period of time, he continued to study the second-order natural mist formation, and his understanding of the mist formation has also greatly improved. Therefore, this time, he planned to arrange 4 first-order high-grade fog-hidden formations on the outskirts of the valley at Balin Lake. The mist breath stone can just be used as the core of the formation, continuously creating a rich mist, which can change unpredictably under the guidance of the formation pattern, which is enough to protect the safety here. This is equivalent to making a small foggy valley, although it is far inferior to the second-level natural formation of Foggy Valley. It is enough. The 4 sets of formations took a total of half a month. It wasn't until almost a month before Zhou Daocheng returned to Wugu with Zhao Yunzhi with peace of mind. After ending the competition with Beifang City, Wuyifang City is gradually getting back on track. The number of monks coming and going is gradually increasing, and more people are opening shops here. Everything is developing in a good direction. When Zhao Yunzhi saw this scene, there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. A prosperous and vibrant environment was indeed more suitable for monks to improve their strength. But the more prosperous the market is, the more fierce the competition is. Zhao Yunzhi is still worried. However, when Zhou Daocheng led Zhao Yunzhi all the way through Fangxi in the first valley and into the second valley, Zhao Yunzhi couldn't help but frown. Daocheng, are we going the wrong way? This doesn't look like a place where ordinary monks can come in. In this regard, Zhou Daocheng's expression remained indifferent, and then under Zhao Yunzhi's surprised gaze, he came to a secret corner and put on a bronze mask. By the way, Zhao Yunzhi was also given a bronze mask. After all, a woman appearing next to him could easily attract other people's attention, so it was necessary to cover it up. When he returned to the valley again, a strong man at the 9th level of Qi refining wearing flowing silver scale armor and holding a huge snake bone scythe saw Zhou Daocheng for the first time and hurriedly stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Respected, I have met the senior lord of Fog Valley. This scene shocked Zhao Yunzhi behind the mask. He was stunned for a moment, and his mind seemed to be unable to turn around for a while. Even when Zhou Daocheng led the way into the third valley, he still didn't come back to his senses. On the way, people who saw Zhou Daocheng saluted and cast slightly curious eyes over him, as if they were curious about the identity of the visitor. Zhou Daocheng didn't mean to show off, mainly because as the Lord of Fog Valley, it was necessary for him to appear in front of everyone occasionally, which would help stabilize people's hearts. As for his identity, he had no intention of hiding it from Zhao Yunzhi. After all, as his Taoist companion, he was controlled by spiritual magic and was definitely one of the closest people to him. Next, Zhou Daocheng took Zhao Yunzhi directly to the spiritual beast garden in the south. This place is still very empty, with only one mirage cloud python living here, and the rest of the place is full of open space. From now on, Zhou Daocheng also plans to live here directly. On the one hand, it is convenient to take care of the spirit beasts, and on the other hand, he also wants to find a comfortable cave to live in for a long time. As for the third valley, there was a woman with a red snake tattoo there, which was an extremely unstable factor, so he still felt it necessary to avoid it. It wasn't until he arrived at the spiritual beast garden that Zhao Yunzhi gradually came back to his senses and asked with some stuttering, You are the Lord of Fog Valley? Isn't it similar? No. Yunzhi frowned and thought silently. After a long time, he murmured to himself, No wonder, I was just talking about how a powerful formation master suddenly appeared and directly established a city. I didn't expect it to be you. Ahem, Aunt Yunzhi, please be respectful, my status here is not ordinary. Zhou Daocheng said righteously. The only person who replied to him was a speechless White Eye, and said coldly, Then if you didn't tell me earlier, you would have made me worry for so long. Zhou Daocheng smiled and scratched his head, put his hand on Zhao Yunzhi's shoulder, and said, I told you not to worry, we will live here from now on. This is the spirit beast garden I specially built, and I should use it in the future. Come and raise some spiritual birds and live here. By the way, the aura here should be at the 2nd level, right? 2nd level top grade. So, high? Then you don't grow elixirs here? There is also a elixir garden. If you are interested, You can go and stay there for a while, Zhou Daocheng said seriously. Hearing this, Zhao Yunzhi did not say anything more. In just a short time of tea, she had been shocked countless times. The ability of the young man in front of her seemed to be more amazing than she had imagined, and what he did was even more incredible: build a market. This was something she dared not even think about, but it really appeared in front of her. Everyone said that the Zhou family was in decline, but perhaps no one knew that the Zhou family was about to usher in a new beginning. Regardless of Zhao Yunzhi's shock, Zhou Daocheng began to arrange in the spiritual medicine garden and build a small cave here for daily practice life, build a wooden house in the valley for common living, and dig a cave on the cliff for each person to practice and retreat. And in the following days, the accumulation of innate purple energy can also gradually return to normal. Although the speed is slow and the time span is long, it is better to have it than not. As the night deepened, the clouds above the head rolled gently, covering the dark night sky and the faint halo of moonlight. Creak. The wooden door was pushed open, making a faint sound. After a while, a cold voice sounded. Do you have any more doubts about cultivation? Do you need my help to answer them? Ahem, you know, I am dull, so I need Yunzhi to teach me. No. Yunzhi pursed her lips and said helplessly, you can change the reason next time. I will be the teacher? That's fine, but you have to be obedient. You'd better shut up, I don't want to kick you out on the first day. Okay. Then, the night darkened, and the singing sounded softly, lingering in the quiet valley. Gradually, the sound trembled, and the blushing was slightly startled. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Brother, please help me. Until the next morning, Zhao Yunzhi's face turned red and he got up from the bed with some discomfort. As for Zhou Daocheng, he has returned to his normal cultivation life. He felt refreshed yesterday and his level has improved slightly. Even Zhao Yunzhi couldn't help but frown slightly when he saw this scene. Could it be that he really wanted to practice? Zhou Daocheng's body was filled with spiritual energy, regulating the accumulated spiritual energy in his body to make his foundation as solid as possible. He has now reached the late stage of the 9th level of Qi refining, and is not far away from breaking through the foundation building. He must lay a solid foundation to make it easier to break through. At the same time, he also needs to consider how to obtain a foundation building pill. Perhaps, we really need to find a way to go out and go to the market of other Z Mansion forces to find a way to buy a foundation establishment pill. By the way, we also need to help Zhao Yunzhi buy a set of exercises to improve her strength as soon as possible. There were no spiritual stones before, but now I have finally earned them. As a result, I have no place to buy cultivation resources, and Zhou Daocheng feels helpless. Over the past few days, he has accumulated a lot of spiritual stones. It is more than enough to buy a foundation building pill, but it is a pity that there is no way to do so. During the previous auction, he gained a large number of spiritual stones by selling various formations, elixirs, resources, etc., almost more than 35,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Afterwards, Beifang City redeemed more than 70 monks, allowing him to make a huge fortune again and obtain 70,000 spiritual stones. The total amount has exceeded 100,000, which is definitely a huge wealth, but it is a pity that it has no use at the moment. After thinking for a long time, Zhou Daocheng went to the 3rd valley and found the woman with the red snake tattoo. Boy, what do you want from me? Do you still remember our previous agreement? Every year, I can ask you to do one thing for me. The woman with the red snake tattoo frowned and said, what do you want me to do for you? Isn't it something too excessive? Zhou Daocheng smiled and said, it's a small matter. I want to trouble you to go out and buy something for me. What? Foundation pill. Hearing this, the woman with the red snake tattoo turned green and couldn't help but curse. You want me to travel such a long distance to Yunlong sect to buy a foundation establishment? Zhou Daocheng nodded honestly, yes, but I will provide the spirit stone. Isn't this nonsense? If you don't give out the spirit stone, you want me to give it out. The woman with the red snake tattoo frowned and glared at Zhou Daocheng angrily. Then I'll wait for your good news. I'll leave early and come back early. After saying that, Zhou Daocheng threw the spirit stone over and turned to leave. However, he was directly stopped by the woman with the red snake tattoo, and the spirit stone was thrown back directly. All that was left was a cold sentence: "No, let whoever you want go, I won't do it." Zhou Daocheng pursed his lips, knowing that this would be the result. Although in name, he could do one thing with the woman with the red snake tattoo every year, but this is a verbal agreement after all. According to the character of this senior red snake, there is a high probability that many requests will be rejected by her. However, Zhou Daocheng was already prepared and asked directly, "Senior, have you collected all the ingredients for the purifying elixir package I gave you earlier?" The woman with the red snake tattoo was stunned and said, "Not yet. There are several second-order materials that are not on the market." "Is there any way?" Zhou Daocheng said calmly. "If I guessed correctly, the two missing ingredients should be blood tinifying lotus seeds and red sun turtle blood, right?" "How, do you know?" "Because these two materials are not available in Qingshan sect. You can't buy them, but Yunlong sect has them." Hearing this, the woman with the red snake tattoo obviously twitched her mouth, glanced at Zhou Daocheng with an evil look, and said coldly, "When you gave me the formula for the purifying elixir package, did you expect that this would happen today?" Zhou Daocheng smiled and said, "It's just a coincidence." But the woman with the red snake tattoo obviously didn't believe this, and looked at Zhou Daocheng with gritted teeth. However, after thinking for a long time, he finally got discouraged and said coldly, "I can go to Yunlong sect, but you need to pay for the spiritual stones needed to replenish the blood lotus seeds and red sun turtle blood." Zhou Daocheng didn't even think about it and agreed directly, "No problem. No matter how much you buy, just come back and ask me for reimbursement." The woman with the red snake tattoo frowned. "Okay, but I don't have that many spirit stones. You have to give me the 50,000 for the foundation establishment pill first." Zhou Daocheng didn't hesitate too much and handed the spirit stone directly to her. As for whether she would take the money and run away, Zhou Daocheng was not particularly worried. As a strong person at the pinnacle of the third level of foundation building, the temptation of 50,000 spirit stones is not that great for her. Moreover, she personally showed the double snake tattoo in front of Zhou Daocheng and paid such a heavy price just to solve the tattoo problem. Zhou Daocheng didn't think that she would never come back for these 50,000 spirit stones. But Zhou Daocheng didn't notice that after he left, the woman with the red snake tattoo behind him suddenly smiled. He murmured to himself, "The purifying elixir bag should be quite good. It should be able to help me to a great extent when the double snake tattoo goes out of control. I will probably use it often in the future. But the blood-boosting lotus seeds and red sun turtle blood are very valuable. I just took this opportunity to buy dozens of copies. I hope this kid can afford the spiritual stones." The woman with the red snake tattoo was calculating. A smile of success appeared on her face. After Zhou Daocheng left, he did not return to the cave directly. Instead, he rushed to Fangxi and found his eldest brother Zhou Daobai. Zhou Daobai asked curiously, "Daocheng, why are you in such a hurry?" Zhou Daocheng took a sip of tea and said, "Brother, it's urgent. I need you to buy something for me." "What is it?" "Blood replenishing, lotus seeds and red sun turtle blood." Zhou Daobai was stunned and asked, "Why do you want this thing?" Zhou Daocheng touched his nose and roughly recounted the transaction between himself and the woman with the red snake tattoo. After listening to this, Zhou Daobai couldn't help but twitch his mouth and asked, "Why don't you ask Big Brother to buy foundation building pills? You are so brave to give 50,000 spirit stones to a stranger." Zhou Daocheng shook his head. "The distance is too far, and it is too dangerous. It is not suitable for you to take risks." Zhou Daobai smiled bitterly and shook his head, and asked helplessly, "So according to what you mean, Yunlong sect actually doesn't have these two medicinal materials at all?" Zhou Daocheng touched his nose. "It is highly likely that there are none. Only our Qingshan sect has them, but that senior should not have seriously searched for them." Zhou Daobai held his forehead and said, You are so brave that you dare to deceive a foundation building expert. Okay, leave this to me, I will buy one for you. No, just buy half a portion. Half a portion? Zhou Daocheng nodded. It's a good thing that the efficacy is a little worse, anyway, I don't use it. Chapter 204 Tanchai Zianju. Zhou Daobai shook his head helplessly, looking at his sixth brother with a complicated expression, not understanding why the Zhou family's simple family tradition suddenly became distorted after being passed down. However, Zhou Daocheng was embarrassed to say that he was worried that the medicine was too effective and the woman with the red snake tattoo would recover too quickly, and he had no time to observe the tattoo. After all, such a good thing would naturally last as long as possible. As a dedicated array master, he had to study it carefully with a thirst for learning. Zhou Daocheng was relieved after arranging the matter of the foundation building pill. After all, the matter of the foundation building pill has always been his biggest concern. If he cannot successfully break through to the foundation building stage, everything will be in vain. After this matter is resolved, he can put all his thoughts on the development of the Fog Valley and the family. Zhou Daocheng currently does not have too many ideas about the development of the family. There is only a vague outline, which is to provide more resources for the clan members and vigorously cultivate the offspring. He has already started to arrange things in this regard. Daxiu, Daowen, Chengshu, and Qingxai will also move to Wugu in a while. Since Zhou Daocheng promised to train them, he will not break his promise. As for the other children of the Zhou family with the character Dao, they are a little older and will stay in Bailin Lake temporarily. But Zhou Daocheng will also provide them with resources so that they can quickly improve their strength. As for the development of Wugu market, Zhou Daocheng also has his own ideas. He plans to open a few other shops again to make it more prosperous and more attractive to monks. First of all, Zhou Daocheng does not plan to withdraw the slave trading market that was opened earlier, but will continue to develop it. Although the slave trade is not decent, it is a must in the market and it is almost impossible to ban it. After all, there will always be small families that are destroyed, and there will inevitably be monks who become slaves. Even if they are not sold to Wugu market, they will inevitably be sold to other places. Or, monks will also trade with each other. This kind of great trade will exist more or less. This is a cannibalistic world of immortal cultivation. Behind all the immortal mountains and attics and the dreamlike life, there is a bloody reality. Therefore, instead of letting the slaves be sold to other places, it is better to keep them directly in the Wugu market. On the one hand, Zhou Daocheng can select some powerful individuals from these slaves as his own subordinates to guard the Wugu. However, this is still quite difficult. After all, most of the slaves sold are not very strong and have low potential. On the other hand, the shop also needs a lot of manpower, or some other chores. If there are some slaves to help, it will be much more convenient. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng has arranged Wei Hanshan to continue to operate the slave trading market and secretly select some good people. Secondly, Zhou Daocheng has another plan in his mind, which is about spiritual wine and medicinal bath. He plans to combine these two things to create a place for leisure and entertainment. This is considering the environment of the Wugu market. It is close to the East Great Wilderness vein. Most of the people who come here are only two types. One is a small family that escapes from the famine, and the other is a team of casual cultivators who hunt monsters. These two types of people have a common feature, that is, they need to go out to hunt monsters and bear great pressure. In this case, spirit wine is a very popular resource that can greatly relieve pressure. Moreover, spirit wine itself is a very precious cultivation resource, and taking it is also very beneficial to the body. As for medicinal baths, they also have a very unique effect. Previously, Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, Qin Lai and others used medicinal baths to dredge the condensed turbid air in their bodies, dredge the blocked meridians, and even successfully break through the bottlenecks of many years. Since medicinal baths are useful for them, they must also be very useful for other casual cultivators. They have been wandering on the edge of life and death for a long time, fighting with monsters all year round, and have accumulated a lot of diseases and hidden injuries in their bodies, which makes their breakthroughs more difficult. If medicinal baths can be promoted, they will definitely be very popular. So, after some consideration, Zhou Daocheng chose a large 5-story shop in the core of Wuyifang City. And named it Danchai Xianju, which can be regarded as a commemoration of the deceased Danchai Mountain. In Danchai Xianju, the first floor is mainly a tavern, providing a variety of spiritual wine. The second floor is a private room, which is also mainly spiritual wine, but the quality is relatively high, and some meals are also provided. Those members of small families, or monks of higher status, who don't like the atmosphere of the tavern on the first floor, can come here to rent a private room. The 3 floors above are used to operate medicinal baths, and the 3 floors are of 3 different grades. The third floor is Qinyang Medicinal Bath. The quality is the first level middle grade, and it is supplied to weaker monks. The fourth floor is Fire Burning Cloud Medicinal Bath. The quality is the first level upper grade. I should be a cultivator in the late stage of qi refining. As for the 5th floor, it is still the second level lower grade, Pure Spirit Medicinal Bath. Zhou Daocheng regretted it at this time. He should let his eldest brother buy more materials. But there is no need to rush. There should not be many people who can afford Pure Spirit Medicinal Bath. It is not too late to collect materials in the future. Moreover, if you want to run a large store, it will not be completed in 1 or 2 days. The interior needs to be decorated, materials need to be prepared, and spirit wine needs to be brewed in advance. So, Zhou Daocheng only determined the general direction, and the specific things that followed were left to others to take charge of. And the diligent Wei Hanshan naturally became the best choice. As for Zhou Daocheng himself, as the master of the Fog Valley, he naturally had to spend most of his time practicing. In the following days, Zhou Daocheng spent most of his time in the Spirit Beast Garden and Spirit Medicine Garden. A large area of spiritual medicine grew healthily, lushly covering the entire valley, and had adapted to the environment here. The purple air green spirit bamboo has also been planted and thrives in the Spirit Medicine Garden, and in the more concentrated spiritual environment, there are signs of further improvement in quality. In the Spirit Beast Garden, the purple armored spirit swallowing ants also began to rebuild their nests. With enough concentrated spiritual energy, their reproduction speed has also increased. Unlike in the underground caves, there are many things with spiritual energy around the Fog Valley, such as spiritual flowers, spiritual herbs, spiritual minerals, etc., and the purple armored spirit swallowing ants have gradually begun to collect them. However, the ant colony is small now, and can only explore nearby areas. When the number of ants is large enough in the future, they may be able to directly enter the East Great Wilderness to collect resources. That will be the time for rapid development. In addition to practicing, Zhou Daocheng often travels between the Spiritual Medicine Garden and the Spiritual Beast Garden. He also works hard at night to accumulate innate purple energy. He has clearly discovered that the speed of accumulating innate purple energy seems to be getting slower and slower. Part of the reason is that because 2 strands of innate purple energy have been collected, the efficiency is relatively reduced now. Chapter 205 Daxiu and Chengxian number 039:S styles. Another reason is that Zhao Yunzhi is weak. In order to make up for this problem, Zhou Daocheng used his connections to go to Beifang City and bought a water-attributed technique with the quality of the second-level lower grade. He spent a full 10,000 spirit stones, which made him feel distressed. However, these are all necessary. After all, if Zhao Yunzhi wants to reach a higher level or even break through the foundation, he needs a complete technique. After getting the technique, Zhao Yunzhi also began to rebuild the technique, and his strength returned to the first level of qi training, and then he practiced back at a very fast speed. Because the concentration of spiritual energy is rich enough and Zhao Yunzhi's talent is also very high, the speed of rebuilding is faster than expected. In just over 2 months, he reached the 8th level of qi training again, and there was a faint sign of breaking through to the 9th level of qi training. Therefore, in the past few days, he has entered the cave excavated on the cliff and retreated alone to break through. And Zhou Daocheng was not idle either. In the recent period, Daowen, Daxiu, Chengshu, and Chengxi have also come to Wugu, so he will teach these 4 children in addition to practicing. Zhou Daocheng arranged all of these 4 children in the spiritual medicine garden and built a small wooden house for each of them for daily practice life. On weekdays, according to the characteristics of their own practice, they also have different practice lives. Daoan and Chengshu mainly practice and form formations. They are relatively common, mostly study the formation diagrams quietly in the house. Now both of them have reached the 3rd level of Qi refining, and have made great progress in formation skills. There is already a precedent for successfully arranging the spirit gathering formation. However, their success rate remains to be considered, and they are not considered to be a real formation master. As for Daxiu and Qingxai, they are still mainly practicing and fighting most of the time. However, Daxiu spends more time practicing, while Qingxai spends more time fighting. In the edge of the Wugu Mountains, monsters often break into them, with strengths ranging from strong to weak. If a monster of the first order or early mid-stage appears, Zhou Daocheng will also arrange for 2 people to practice with each other to improve their practical experience. But more often, Zhu Daxiu and Lin Qingxai practiced against each other. After all, both of them had good talents in fighting, but there was also a big gap between the two. Lin Qingxai had higher talent, whether it was the speed of improving strength or the ability to learn combat techniques. He was 1 level higher than Zhu Daxiu, but Lin Qingxai's weaknesses were more obvious. His personality was more violent and impetuous, he was open and unstoppable, and his offensive was fierce and terrifying. Zhu Daxiu was completely different. His talent might not be as good as Lin Qingxai's, but he was more stable, and his will and character were more matured. Moreover, the fighting process was very restrained, steady, and looked more moderate, but often hidden murderous intent. It was just a pity that he usually had no chance to use the murderous intent he hid. When Lin Qingxai caught a flaw, he would chop it down without hesitation, and would never be merciful. Although he kept a sense of propriety, he often hurt Zhu Daxiu. Even if Zhu Daxiu found a flaw, he rarely took action, because the flaws in his eyes were special. Once he took action, would it be troublesome? Zhu Daocheng watched the 2 fight, and he found that Zhu Daxiu had a very strong grasp of the timing of the battle. He often aimed at the fatal parts, such as the neck, heart, important meridian points, danchan, etc. Zhu Daxiu knew very well where to attack, which would make the enemy lose combat ability in a short time, but unfortunately, these parts were not suitable for use on Lin Qingxai. Zhu Daocheng remained silent about the styles of the 2 and did not point out the problems. Because he knew very well that with Lin Qingxai's personality, even if he took the initiative to bring it up, this little girl would probably not change. With her impetuous personality, she must have suffered losses and experienced unforgettable pain before she knew her own problems. As for Zhu Daxiu, his personality did not have too many disadvantages, and under Lin Qingxai's high-pressure training, there would be a lot of improvement. The only thing that worries Zhu Daocheng is this kind of character that likes to hide his shortcomings. He keeps hiding things and shows mercy in everything. I wonder if there will be some accidents. When Zhu Daocheng kept thinking about these problems, he couldn't help but feel a little worried. But soon, his mentality adjusted, and he couldn't help but laugh at himself. It seems that after staying with the children for a long time, he has become indecisive. But the future of these children is in their own hands. How to go, where to go. This is the road they have to choose for themselves. As for what obstacles and injuries they will suffer on the road, it is not for Zhu Daocheng to know. He just fulfilled his responsibilities as a brother and a teacher, leading them on the path of cultivation. Time passed quickly. Such a comfortable life soon passed for more than half a year. And during this more than half a year, everything was developing in an orderly manner. Although there are still small conflicts between Beifang City and Wuyifang City, they are not serious. After all, the magic weapons of Wuyifang City are strong enough, and the team configuration is also being optimized, gradually approaching the regular forces. Therefore, in the disputes between the two sides, Wuyifang City has rarely been at a disadvantage. Moreover, the gap between the two markets is getting bigger and bigger. The momentum of Wugu market is obviously rising. A large number of small families, independent cultivation teams, and powerful monks have poured into it, bringing rich vitality. On the contrary, Bay market seems to be gradually declining. Although they adjusted the prices in time and returned to normal, they still failed to save the monks. The main reason is that the geographical environment of Bay market is far less superior than that of Wugu market, and the quality and quantity of natural materials and treasures are much worse. For these situations, the forces in Bay market are also very anxious and are actively looking for ways, but unfortunately there has been no good solution. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng slave trading market and Tanchai Xianju have also been in full swing, and the business is indeed good. Under the management of Wei Hanshan, the slave trading market has become more and more standardized, and the transactions have become more abundant. The most important part is still the buying and selling of human monks. After all, Wuyifang City is located in the border area, and there is no restriction in the wilderness environment, so there are endless cases of killing people for treasures, snatching monsters and natural treasures. In order to compete for better development, there are constant disputes between forces, so the incidents of extermination are not uncommon. This makes the business of the slave trading market very good. Chapter 206 The Market for Medicinal Baths. Zhou Daocheng also took this opportunity to purchase many high-quality slaves to be used as shop assistants in Tanchai Xianju. At the same time, he will also pay special attention to two groups of people, namely women and children, hoping to find some exquisite products. Why these two categories? Naturally, we are looking for highly talented and qualified monks. If you can find a woman with higher talent than Zhao Yunzhi in the slave trading market, doesn't that mean you have a few extra rays of innate purple energy? As for children, those who are talented enough are also worth cultivating and can add to the family heritage. But so far, no slaves have been found that meet the requirements. After all, they can be sold to the slave trading market, and most of them are of average quality, especially in terms of talents. Almost all of them have 5 spiritual roots, and even many of them are just ordinary mortals. This is also very easy to understand. Generally speaking, enemies with strong strength and high talents will kill them directly to avoid future troubles. Only the old, weak, women and children, and monks who do not pose any threat, will sell slaves. As for Tanchai Xianju, its development has been very good in the past 6 months and has gradually got on the right track. The tavern on the first and second floors has a very good business, and the supply of spiritual wine is often in short supply. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng discovered that the sales situation of the more expensive Yue brewing was actually not good. Instead, it is a spirit that is extremely cheap, tastes very inferior, and has an extremely simple production process, Bingdozi, which is extremely popular. This is a first-class low-grade spirit wine, even the lowest grade spirit among the first-class low-grade spirits. Zhou Daocheng just took a sip and was choked by the spicy taste and coughed. It was completely devoid of the beauty of spiritual wine, but this kind of ice knife is very popular among casual cultivators and has become the best-selling spirit. Zhou Daocheng has conducted in-depth research on this. I found that most casual cultivators who are wandering on the edge of life and death need to be mentally paralyzed and need such violent stimulation. They are not even afraid of bloodshed and death, and naturally they are not afraid of a small amount of strong alcohol. Moreover, there is another very important factor, that is, Bingdozi is very cheap. It is brewed from a kind of weed with weak spiritual energy. A large pot only requires 1 spiritual stone. Even the formula of Bingdozi was incomplete. Zhou Daocheng reluctantly completed it according to the formulas of other spiritual wines and created this spirit. However, since the sales volume is good, it is natural to cater to the market, so Zhou Daocheng also increased the production of ice knife as much as possible. On the edge of the foggy valley, Zhou Daocheng sown a lot of ice knife grass seeds. Just scatter them randomly in the corners, and this extremely low-quality spiritual grass can grow, and the yield is not low, and the growth cycle is still short, which can fully meet the needs of Tanchai Xianju. In addition, the medicinal bath business is also booming, and it is booming as expected. For a long time at first, no one patronized the medicinal bath, and business was extremely poor. After all, in the world of cultivators, there is no habit of taking a bath. For many casual cultivators, it is normal not to take a bath for several years. How can they take a bath when they have nothing to do? Moreover, the price of bathing is not cheap. The most common first-level mid-grade yin-yang medicinal bath requires a full 100 spirit stones, which is almost as much as a magic weapon. However, Zhou Daocheng can't really blame Zhou Daocheng for being so expensive. After all, the medicine package requires a lot of materials and the value is not low. For example, yin-yang medicinal bath requires a complete set of materials worth more than 300 spirit stones. However, a medicine pack is very large. If divided into portions for one person, it can be divided into about 5 portions. Calculating this way, Zhou Daocheng only earned 40 spirit stones per person. It's just that the casual cultivators didn't know this and didn't have that much spare money to try, which led to the early business being very bleak. Until one day, a 60-year-old qi refining 8th level casual practitioner saw the effect of the medicinal bath in Tanchai. It has the effect of dredging the meridians, driving away turbid qi, and treating hidden diseases. With the mentality of giving it a try, he ordered a Huazuoyun medicinal bath, but it cost him a full 300 spirit stones. Such a high price almost made him vomit blood. With the mentality that if it didn't work, he would cause a scene in the restaurant, he entered the bathhouse depressedly. But the result was unexpected. After the monk entered the bathhouse, he didn't come out in the middle of the night. It wasn't until the early morning of the next day that everyone noticed a fluctuation in the 9th level of qi refining, which actually appeared upstairs. This casual cultivator who had been at the 8th level of qi refining for more than 30 years successfully broke through to the 9th level of qi refining overnight. What shocked everyone even more was that this person's name was Huang Gang, a casual cultivator who had been here for a long time. It is said that when he was young, he was seriously injured by a venomous snake monster, which caused damage to his meridians and blocked the wound with snake venom. It has not been removed for 30 years. And his strength has always been stuck at the peak of the 8th level of weapon refining, and has never improved. Even he himself has given up hope. Other monks also believe that if there is no magic elixir, it will be difficult to recover from this kind of hidden injury that has lasted for 30 years. However, Huang Hegang directly broke the 30-year bottleneck after taking a bath and successfully broke through to the 9th level of qi refining. Once the news spread, the reputation of Tanchai Fairyland was completely established. More importantly, Huang Hegang was very grateful to Tanchai Xianzhu and spent a lot of effort to promote it everywhere. In the end, he directly joined Wugu and became a 9th level qi refining expert under Zhou Daocheng. In the second valley get settled. With the first person trying it, there will inevitably be a second, a third. In this way, the business of medicinal baths gradually began. In the following days, many monks who had been stuck in bottlenecks for many years successfully cleared the blockages in their bodies after taking medicinal baths, and broke through to a new realm. This made the reputation of Tanchai Xianzhu more and more famous, and in the eyes of casual cultivators, it became an extremely extraordinary shop. Even the value it brings is not inferior to some elixirs. After all, many elixirs do not have the ability to expel turbid air and dredge meridians. But at the same time, there are also many people who did not succeed in breaking through after taking a bath. However, these people did not make trouble, because the improvement of the body during the medicinal bath was real, and it really made their condition greatly restored. The reason for not successfully breaking through was just because they did not accumulate enough and were not enough to break through to a higher realm. Most of those who successfully broke through were old monks who had been stuck in a certain realm for several years or even decades. They have been wandering all their lives, and almost thought that they had no chance to break through to a new realm. But now, thanks to the medicinal bath at Tanchai Xianzhu, they have fulfilled their long-cherished dream. This has made many people have a great liking for Tanchai Xianzhu and are willing to take care of the business here. Chapter 207, Soul Binding Array and Puppet Wood Array. After that, when he learned that the boss behind Tanchai Xianzhu was the master of Wugu, his gratitude shifted to Wugu Market, and he had a deep sense of belonging here. For this reason, The number of Wugu market guards and hunting teams has expanded a lot in the past 6 months. So far, Wugu market has 15 9th-level Qi refining masters, all of whom have settled in the Second Valley and become part of Zhou Daocheng's forces. This is an extremely powerful force, and many foundation-building families cannot have so many 9th-level Qi refining masters. With the help of these 9th-level Qi refining cultivators, many things have become much more convenient. Whether it is guarding the safety of the market or going out to hunt monsters, it will become easier. Of course, in addition to the 9th-level Qi refining, there are also many 7th and 8th-level Qi refining cultivators who are willing to join Wugu. Originally, Zhou Daocheng did not intend to take them in, nor was he willing to give the caves in the Second Valley to these weaker cultivators. However, later, many people came with gratitude and were willing to settle in Wugu market permanently, so Zhou Daocheng felt compassion. So, he set a new rule. If the 8th and 7th level Qi refining cultivators joined, 3 people could share a cave, and the spiritual field was only 1/3 of that of the 9th level Qi refining strongmen. However, if they break through to the 9th level of Qi refining one day, they can be assigned a single cave. Even so, there are still many 8th level Qi refining cultivators joining. So far, 18 8th level Qi refining cultivators and 32 7th level Qi refining cultivators have joined Wugu, greatly enhancing the strength. At the same time, the hunting teams can also meet the full complement of 10 people, with more complete configurations, and with the combination of magic tools and formations, the strength has been greatly enhanced. On weekdays, they stay in the Second Valley, receive some simple training, enhance cooperation with each other, and gradually transform from the identity of casual cultivators to members of the power. Most of them have been through hundreds of battles and have been fighting monsters for years. Their foundation is pretty good. With simple guidance, they can cooperate well. When it is their turn to guard the market or go out to hunt monsters, they will do these daily tasks under the leadership of the 9th level Qi refining masters. There are also very few times when the eldest brother Zhou Daobai will come forward to explain the difficulties in cultivation to these Qi refining casual cultivators and help them improve their strength. This is also a benefit after joining the Fog Valley. At the same time, it must be mentioned that the eldest brother Zhou Daobai only spent more than 3 months to buy the materials and then returned to the market smoothly. However, it was a rare trip out, so he did not buy only half of the materials as Zhou Daocheng said, but directly bought 3. After returning, Zhou Daocheng arranged for the eldest brother Zhou Daobai to live in the spiritual medicine garden, where the concentration of spiritual energy is higher and more suitable for foundation building cultivation. And when he is free, he will also guide the 4 children, or go to the Second Valley to guide the cultivators there. In general, life is still relatively leisurely. As for the woman with the red snake tattoo, there is no news at present, but Zhou Daocheng is not worried, because the journey is long and it will take at least a year and a half for her to come back. If everything goes well in the market, Zhou Daocheng can practice peacefully and has now successfully reached the peak of the 9th level of Qi refining. As long as the foundation building pill is in place, he can immediately try to break through the foundation building. Now that he has free time, he is not idle, but puts all his thoughts on studying the formation. The black puppet wood has been planted, and his attempts at new formations have begun. He is still very much looking forward to this new formation, because it is very likely that he can use the technology of fusion formation to truly make the first level top grade formation have the power comparable to the second level formation. The 2 sets of first level top grade formations he chose are the puppet wood formation and the spirit binding formation. The spirit binding formation is an extremely rare formation. At least, Zhou Daocheng has never seen a similar formation on the market. Because in the process of arranging the spirit binding formation, the spirit of the monster beast is needed. What is a monster spirit? This is a special monster material that can only be produced by a second level monster. Generally speaking, a second level monster already has a certain amount of wisdom, and its soul is relatively more condensed, so a spirit will appear after death. This kind of monster spirit can be used in many skills. For example, if the spirit of a second level monster can be refined into a natal magic weapon, It can make the magic weapon more spiritual, and even manifest the figure of a monster. However, the most used should be the talisman technique. Some powerful sects can refine the spirit of monsters into talismans, which can exert the full force of the monster in front of them. It is a very precious special talisman. However, in the formation, Zhou Daocheng has never seen anyone use spirits, but the spirit-binding formation is a formation with the spirit of monsters as the core. After several months of research, Zhou Daocheng has a deep understanding of the spirit-binding formation. The effect of the soul-binding array is to refine the spirit of the monster, and use the array pattern to bind it in the array, and finally manifest it in the array. However, the strength of the monster phantom will inevitably be greatly reduced. According to Zhou Daocheng's estimation, the spirit of the second stage early stage monster should be weakened to the peak of the 9th level of Qi training, but even so, the phantom of the monster formed by the spiritual energy still has a trace of the spiritual wisdom of the monster before its death, so both the combat skills and the murderous nature are stronger than ordinary first stage monsters. However, if the monster spirit used can reach the second level middle grade, the power can probably be improved. But at this time, another question needs to be considered: the strength of the formation. After all, this is only a first level upper grade formation. The strength of the formation pattern is limited, and it is difficult to bind and control the second level lower grade spirit. If the second level middle grade monster spirit is forcibly refined, the power of the formation pattern may not be able to bind the spirit, resulting in loss of control in the end. This kind of loss of control of the formation is still very scary, because it means that the formation master has lost control of the formation. But the monster spirit has a good strength after absorbing the power in the formation pattern. This will greatly cause the monster phantom to backfire. Therefore, the most suitable for the spirit binding formation is the second level lower grade monster spirit. Generally speaking, a set of spirit binding formation can refine at most 2 second level lower grade monster spirits, and manifest 2 monster phantoms at the peak of the 9th level of Qi refining. And the power of the phantom is not weaker than that of an ordinary 9th level peak powerhouse of Qi refining. It is definitely a very scary formation. If there is a disadvantage, it is that the materials are too precious. After all, it requires the spirit of a second level monster, which is not cheap. Moreover, because the final monster phantom is mainly composed of spiritual energy and spirit, its weaknesses are also more obvious. Chapter 208 Spirit Puppet Array. If the opponent is proficient in mental attacks, or the spiritual energy is stronger than the formation, it is easy to directly disperse the phantom of the monster. But this is also normal. After all, any formation will have certain defects. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng has his own method to avoid this defect as much as possible. That is the puppet wood formation. The puppet wood formation is also a first-level superior formation. It can control 2 wooden puppets to assist in the formation. It has both offensive and defensive capabilities and extraordinary power. However, the puppets in the puppet wood formation also have considerable flaws. The most obvious one is the lack of spirituality, and the ability to fight independently is extremely poor. The puppet has a tough physique but cannot be used. When seeing these 2 formations, Zhou Daocheng instantly felt that it was a match made in heaven. The spirit binding formation has spirit but no form. The wooden puppet formation has form but no spirit. If the 2 are combined, not only can they make up for each other's shortcomings, but they may also produce unexpected changes. During this period, he put all his energy on the fusion of these 2 formations. It can be clearly felt that these 2 sets of formations are of extremely high quality and extremely special. It is very difficult to merge the formations. Even though Zhou Daocheng has tried for a long time, he has only completed a small part. It will take a lot of time to fully merge. In the following time, he also devoted himself to seclusion. A month later, Zhou Daocheng slowly opened his eyes, and a hint of surprise flashed in his slightly turbid eyes. Finally, succeeded. In front of him, a new set of formation patterns was created, with complex patterns and cumbersome lines. all of which showed the power of this set of formations. The difficulty of arranging this set of formations is definitely much higher than that of the Golden Spear 100 Vine formation and the Purple Air Green Spirit Sword formation, and the meaning and value it represents are absolutely extraordinary. Zhou Daocheng called this set of formations Spirit Puppet Formation, taking puppets as the body and spirits as the spirit. The two special formations are merged, so that the spirit puppets born in the formations not only have the strong physique of puppets, but also have a hint of intelligence, thus having stronger combat capabilities. Zhou Daocheng conservatively estimated that the actual combat power of the spirit puppet should barely reach the second level. Perhaps it is difficult for a spirit puppet to truly rival a foundation building expert. But you have to know that there are two spirit puppets in the formation, plus the formation master himself. The actual combat power of the three combined is likely to be able to fight against a foundation building expert. Moreover, this formation still has room for improvement. If Zhou Daocheng can break through the foundation, he can further improve the strength of the formation, increase the length of the puppet body, and change the level of the spirit. Perhaps it is really possible to create two second-level medium-quality spirit puppets in the formation. But for now, it is still too difficult to do this. The biggest problem is the spirit. Generally, it is difficult to buy a complete spirit in the market, especially in small markets such as Bay Market and Wugu Market. The best way is to hunt the second-level monster in person. Zhou Daocheng's eyes showed a thoughtful look. If it was before, he would naturally not dare to think about the second-level monster. But now, the strength he has in his hands is extraordinary. With the help of his elder brother Zhou Daobai, and with the cooperation of a group of 9th-level Qi refining masters, as well as powerful formations and magic tools, it is not a problem to besiege a second-level inferior monster. Thinking of this, Zhou Daocheng thought more and more that it was feasible, as long as there is a successful case for the first time, and the first set of spirit puppet formation is successfully arranged. It is equivalent to an extra foundation building combat power. Then the next time, when we continue to besiege the second-level monster, it will definitely be easier. This is a snowball process. Thinking of this, Zhou Daocheng did not hesitate, and immediately got up and went to the spiritual medicine garden to find him elder brother Zhou Daobai. Hunting a second-level monster? Zhou Daobai frowned when he heard this, and touched his chin in thought. With our current strength, with the assistance of many 9th-level Qi refining masters, as long as we act carefully, it should not be a problem. Zhou Daocheng took the initiative to analyze. Zhou Daobai nodded. I know. Actually, I have also thought about hunting the second-level monster for a long time, but I just haven't made up my mind, right? Zhou Daocheng's eyes lit up and asked, Brother, are you also planning to hunt the second-level monster? Yes, since I broke through the foundation building stage, I have never had a magic weapon that suits me, so I also want to hunt a second-level monster and collect some refining materials. Maybe I can find someone to refine a second-level magic weapon. Zhou Daobai said. So that's it. Zhou Daocheng was thoughtful. He knew the situation in the family. Now there are only two second-level magic weapons left. The Soul Calming Bell and the Giant Ridge Bow. Both are very powerful, but they are not suitable for Zhou Daobai to use. Needless to say, the Giant Ridge Bow should not be willing to fight with a giant crossbow several meters long. The main function of this magic weapon is to serve as the family's magic weapon. When there are more 9th-level Qi refining masters in the future, they can use this magic weapon by force with the strength of the Qi refining stage to emit the strength of the foundation building stage. At the same time, if a large number of cultivators are besieging a second-level monster, this magic weapon can also play a vital role. However, it is indeed not suitable as Zhou Daobai's magic weapon. As for the Soul Calming Bell, a spiritual attack magic weapon, it is indeed very powerful. As long as the cultivator is not specialized in spiritual cultivation, he will almost be severely damaged. However, the weakness of this magic weapon is also very obvious. It is not lethal enough. When fighting with a foundation building expert, using this magic weapon not only consumes a lot of spiritual energy, but also can only limit the opponent for a few seconds. When the opponent recovers, it will be completely finished. More importantly, Zhou Daocheng himself is a very pure sword cultivator with a unique talent in swordsmanship. Therefore, he naturally prefers to use sword-type magic weapons. Zhou Daocheng smiled and said, "This is not a coincidence. We all need second-level materials. Then let's plan well this time and find an opportunity to hunt a second-level monster. Maybe it will greatly increase our strength." Zhou Daocheng also smiled. "Okay, this is your arrangement, brother. I can be the main force in the battle, and with your 9th-level chi refining expert in the Fog Valley, it should not be particularly difficult to hunt a second-level low-grade monster." After both sides said, they started to work. As a foundation-building expert, Zhou Daocheng began to look for suitable monsters around. This matter is not difficult, but not simple. After all, this is at the edge of the East Great Wilderness, and there are quite a few second-level monsters. As long as you go a certain distance to the east, there are many second-level monsters. As for why it is not easy? Because it is actually very difficult to find a monster that has just broken through the foundation and is worth hunting among a large number of second-level monsters. So this selection task was given to Zhou Daocheng. Chapter 209 Hunting the second-level monster. Zhou Daocheng, on the other hand, went to the second valley and began to select people to participate in the siege. In addition, all aspects of preparation work need to be ensured, such as the supply of talismans and elixirs, and the little alchemy pavilion and Wang family must be contacted in advance. Half an hour later. In the second valley, a large cave mansion, several high-level officials from Wu Yifang City gathered. Zhou Daocheng, Meng Yushan, Wei Hanshan, the head of the Little Dan Pavilion, the head of the Wang family, and Zhu Daqi of the Zhou family. These 6 highest status people were all present. As for why Zhu Daqi came to the Zhou family, it was because he was now the nominal head of the Zhou family. The eldest brother Zhou Daocheng is the clan leader. This is also the first time in the Zhou family's thousands of years that such a strange phenomenon has occurred, with 2 juniors serving as the head of the family and the patriarch at the same time. There was nothing that could be done about it. The older generation was dead and wounded, and the few people who kept their names were unable to take on the big responsibilities. Therefore, the burden of the entire Zhou family rested on the shoulders of Dao Bei, Dao Qi, and Dao Cheng. Zhou Daocheng wore a bronze mask and began to introduce what happened this time. "I'm calling you here this time because Wu Gu will have a plan next, which may require everyone's cooperation." Everyone had doubtful looks on their faces. They had been thinking hard for a long time, but they didn't expect anything to happen recently. Bei Ziren, the master of Ziadan Pavilion guessed, "Senior, are you going to continue to compete with Beifang City and completely suppress them?" Zhou Daocheng's expression froze and he glanced at Bei Ziren speechlessly. He also probably knew the experience of Little Dan Pavilion. He had been greatly oppressed in Beifang City, especially with the Fire Dragon sect, which had sworn hatred. Therefore, it is understandable that they hold such hatred against Beifang City. However, Zhou Daocheng shook his head and said, "It has nothing to do with Beifang City. The relationship between the 2 parties is currently harmonious, and there should be no conflict in a short time. Pavilion Master Bei should give up this idea." Hearing this, Bei Ziren looked obviously gloomy, with a hint of regret and a hint of hatred in his eyes, as if he remembered what happened in Beifang City. But then, at this moment, Zhou Daocheng changed the subject and said, "Although we will not conflict with Beifang City in a short period of time, if there is a chance, I don't mind letting Beifang City lose 1 Fire Dragon Gate." "Really, Senior?" Bei Ziren felt that the surprise came too suddenly. Zhou Daocheng slightly. "If there are enough benefits and it is not discovered by Beifang City, I can really consider it." "This is really not nonsense. Beifang City is still too powerful. Once the other party's foundation-building monks come back, the peace between the 2 parties is likely to be broken. Therefore, before they come back, it is necessary to improve their own strength, or weaken the opponent's strong ones." However, the same sentence remains. It is difficult to kill a strong foundation-building person, and even if you kill him, you can't kill him openly. Ignoring Bei Ziren's excitement, Zhou Daocheng continued, "I plan to hunt down the second-level monster, and I need your help, Second level monster? Several people who originally lowered their gazes immediately raised their heads at this moment and looked at Zhou Daocheng in surprise. Immediately afterwards, several people had different expressions. Meng Yushan looked excited and seemed to be looking forward to it. Wei Hanshan looked solemn, thinking about the feasibility of this matter. After all, he was the city manager appointed by Zhou Daocheng, and he needed to be responsible for many logistics. The head of the Wang family, Wang Zhenhai, frowned and seemed to be somewhat resistant to this matter and was willing to let the family fall into war. The same goes for Bei Ziren. He is naturally willing to besiege the Fire Dragon Gate, but he is also not interested if they are asked to besiege other foundation building experts. Zhou Daocheng understood Zhao Yunzhi in their hearts and said, Wogi Valley is close to the eastern Great Wilderness. There are many second-level monsters nearby. We need to clean them up. As members of Wuyi Valley, no one can be left behind at this time! Hearing this, Wang Zhenhai and Bei Ziren looked a little ugly. Wang Zhenhai was a little confused. Senior, there are only a dozen or so people left in our Wang family, and I am the only one who is a 9th level qi refining expert and a talisman master. I am afraid I am not suitable to participate in this siege. The same goes for our little alchemy pavilion. We are all alchemists, so our fighting ability may not be sufficient. Bei Ziren cried out. Zhou Daocheng glanced at the two of them lightly, but in fact he probably understood in his heart that as the talkers of a down-and-out force, the two of them would definitely not want their clansmen to participate in such a thing. As a member of the Zhou family, he can better understand this feeling. However, he had no intention of letting the two of them participate. After all, he was determined to kill this second-level monster this time, and he had enough manpower, so there was no need to share the benefits with other forces. The reason why a few people were gathered together for the purpose of cleaning up the surrounding monsters was just to enhance the cohesion of Wugu, and to get a batch of elixirs and talismans from the little alchemy pavilion and the Wang family. Zhou Daocheng said, after all, this matter is for the safety of Wugu. It makes no sense for the two of you not to participate. Let's do this. Each of you will use a group of resources as the logistics personnel for this time. After hearing this, although the two of them were a little reluctant, they finally breathed a sigh of relief and agreed to the matter. As for the Zhou family, it goes without saying that among all the people present, the Zhou family has the most special status. On the surface, this weapon refining family has a strong foundation builder, who is the strongest force in the entire Wuyifang city except the Lord of Wugu. Secretly, as a member of the Zhou family, Zhou Daocheng naturally protects the family at all times. So, Zhou Daocheng rolled his eyes from beginning to end, without saying a word, and no one bothered him. Next, it was the selection of the siege personnel. Since Xiadan Pavilion and the Wang family were not involved, all the cultivators participating in the siege would be directly selected from the guard team and the hunting team, as Wugu's direct subordinates. These people were more assured to use. Moreover, after training during this period of time, the strength of these casual cultivators has also improved a lot. There are many reasons for this. First of all, it is natural that daily training and practice have more standardized cooperation and better understanding between each other. Secondly, the investment of a large number of magic tools and formations allows them to occupy an advantage among cultivators of the same level. Finally, thanks to the medicinal bath of Tanshai Xianju, most casual cultivators have a significant improvement in strength after using it, and some even break through directly, which is equivalent to a large increase in overall strength. Now, Zhou Daocheng does have a lot of people he can use. Old Wei, can you recommend some people who are suitable to participate in this siege? Zhou Daocheng asked. Wei Hanshan thought for a moment and said, Senior, the 9th level qi refining masters under our command are all very reliable and have been tested. I suggest that the captains of the 8 hunting teams all participate in this siege. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Arranging Personnel. "Oh, captains of 8 hunting teams?" Wei Hanshan nodded and explained, "There are currently 8 hunting teams and 7 guard teams in Wugu. They usually perform their duties and are responsible for various tasks in the market." Zhou Daocheng nodded. He mostly handed over these matters in Wugu market to Wei Hanshan and Meng Yushan. Wei Hanshan is experienced. He is also the old captain of Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, which is equivalent to half a teacher. Naturally, he is still very relieved. As for the matters of the guard team and the hunting team, he also handed them over to Wei Hanshan. Zhou Daocheng asked, "Are these 8 hunting teams currently in Wugu?" 3 teams have gone out to hunt monsters. They have just been out for 5 days and will take about 10 days to come back. Senior, what do you think? Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "Then wait for them. But Elder Wei, please make arrangements. During the hunting of second-level monsters, try to gather forces as much as possible and strengthen the management of the market to prevent accidents." "Okay, Senior, I will be responsible for these things." Old Wei also agreed seriously. Hunting second-level monsters is not a trivial matter. It will drain most of the combat power of Wugu, so it is natural to act carefully. In the next few days, the top leaders of Wugu market also began to prepare secretly. Xiaodan Pavilion provided a batch of elixirs, all of which were of the first-level superior quality. They were mainly used for healing elixirs and recovering mana elixirs for restoring mana. These are also the 2 most common and practical types of elixirs, which can be used for both monks fighting and hunting monsters. The Wang family also provided a batch of talismans, about 5 stacks, a total of 25 pieces, all of which were first-grade top-grade talismans. They were also common talismans, divided into 3 types in total: Golden Sword Talisman for attack, Earth Shield Talisman for defense, and Vine Lock Talisman for trapping enemies. Zhou Daocheng was also surprised. He didn't expect that these 2 forces were quite generous. The pills and talismans they gave were not only of high quality, but also in large quantities. However, this really was Zhou quantities. Daocheng underestimating his influence. His current identity is the actual controller of the Wugu market, with several foundation building masters and dozens of chi refining 9th-level masters standing behind him. And there is also an entire Wugu market. Who would not want to please such a person? Especially the Xiaodan Pavilion and the Wang family. They made a living in Wugu and were considered Zhou Daocheng's men. If they didn't take out a large number of pills and talismans to please them after refusing to participate in the battle, it would be really ungrateful. Zhou Daocheng was also happy about this, so he naturally accepted all the orders. These materials were also distributed as soon as possible, so that several captains of the 9th level of chi refining could get familiar with them in advance and prepare for the next siege. Now, there are a total of 5 hunting teams staying in the valley, and Zhou Daocheng also met them specially. There are many old acquaintances, such as Yuan Zong and Liu Chengzu, who happened to be resting in the Fog Valley recently. Zhou Daocheng also got to know the other 3 people roughly, all of whom were familiar faces, but he couldn't call out their specific names. On the contrary, these captains seemed extremely excited after seeing Zhou Daocheng, with awe, curiosity, and even gratitude in their eyes. They were still very awed by the mysterious Lord of the Fog Valley. After all, he was able to create a market. And most importantly, it was this person in front of them who provided them with this market to settle down and live, and they could practice and live here. After seeing the attitude of everyone, Zhou Daocheng was also relieved. What he was most worried about was that there were all kinds of cultivators with bad intentions and disobedience among his subordinates. However, it seems that this situation has not occurred, and most people are still very cooperative. Since everything is going well, Zhou Daocheng can equip them with confidence and further improve their strength. In terms of magic tools, there is no need to prepare too much. Recently, Zhou Daocheng bought a lot of magic tools from the Zhou family in the name of Wugu. The quality is very good, which is used to equip these 9th-level chi refining masters. Even other weaker hunting team members are mostly equipped with magic tools. As for the formation, Zhou Daocheng considered it and provided each of them with a set of first-level top-grade formation. And it is a fusion formation, that is, quicksand formation and golden spear 100 vine formation. The two sets of formations that combine attack and control can play a big role in any form of battle. Especially for hunting second-level monsters. If these two sets of formations are used together, the difficulty will inevitably be reduced a lot. Generally speaking, cultivators who are proficient in earth attributes will be arranged with quicksand formation, and as for others, they are all golden spear 100 vine formation. Finally, there is no good arrangement for spirit beasts. After all, most of the soul-devouring ants sold by the spirit snake sect are of the first grade, lower and middle grades, and their strength is relatively weak. As for the first grade, upper grade soul-devouring ants, they must be kept in the ant colony to accumulate their own combat power, and it is impossible to sell them at will. However, although the spirit snake sect will not provide spirit beasts, they will also send strong men to participate in this siege. And it must be said that the spirit snake sect is still very authentic in doing things. Since the opening of the Fog Valley market, the spirit snake sect has sent 5 9th level chi refining strongmen to come and stay in the Fog Valley market for a long time to assist Zhou Daocheng in managing the market and guarding the market. Moreover, as the strongest force in the entire Wuliafang city, the spirit snake sect had no intention of fighting for power and profit, but had always acted as a helper to assist Zhou Daocheng in management. Zhou Daocheng also had to sigh that the spirit snake sect was indeed worthy of deep friendship and was a very good partner. This time, the spirit snake sect also sent 3 elders of the 9th level of chi refining to assist Zhou Daocheng in the operation. In this way, with Zhou Daocheng himself, there were a full 12 9th level chi refining strongmen, and with various immortal cultivation skills, it was possible to surround and kill the second-level monster without Zhou Daobai. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng's confidence was also improved a lot. Next, just wait for the eldest brother Zhou Daobai to select a suitable second-level monster. However, before Zhou Daobai came back, an unexpected situation occurred, which directly broke Zhou Daocheng's plan. That night, Zhou Daocheng diligently collected the innate purple chi, and when he closed his eyes to rest in the cave, he suddenly opened his eyes. He looked towards the east of the Fog Valley, with a trace of caution in his eyes. How could there be such a big fluctuation in the east of the Fog Valley? Could it be that a strong person broke in? Zhou Daocheng muttered to himself, and immediately walked out of the cave and went to the easternmost part of the formation. Due to his strength, his control over the formation was only about 25%. Therefore, he could not completely control every corner of the formation. Chapter 211, A Visit from a Second-Level Monster. Relatively speaking, the area where Wuliafang City is located, that is, the west side of the entire formation, has the greatest control because Zhou Dao's growth expectations are there. On the contrary, it is closer to the east, because it is farther away and there are a lot of desolate mountains there, so the control intensity is relatively low. Therefore, when a strong person broke in, he could only feel it slightly, but he didn't know what the specific situation was. But when he arrived, he was immediately stunned by the scene in front of him. It turned out that 2 huge python-like monsters with powerful aura broke into the formation. The stench of the barbaric wilderness hit his face, making Zhou Daocheng to feel shuddering, and the huge size brought a great sense of oppression. Zhou Daocheng immediately saw that these were 2 different species of pythons. One of them is a dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake with lavender scales and bright white dots on its abdomen. It is over 20 meters tall. The other is the pied viper, which has white patterns, is bright and deadly, and is even larger than the black-eyed ghost-scale snake. For some reason, these 2 pythons actually broke into the formation at the same time. They were already trapped in the fog and were destroying the surrounding mountains. Zhou Daocheng frowned, suddenly feeling troubled. I originally planned to go out to look for the second-level monsters, but I didn't expect that they broke in, and there were 2 of them. Faced with this situation, Zhou Daocheng didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. The good thing is that after all, his formation here can make the difficulty of encirclement and killing much lower. The disadvantages are also obvious. If 2 second-level monsters appear at the same time, the difficulty will inevitably increase a lot. If you are not careful, you may suffer losses. But after just thinking for a moment, Zhou Daocheng made a decision. Don't miss this opportunity, it will never come again. Such a good opportunity must be seized. Without any hesitation, Zhou Daocheng immediately informed others, including his eldest brother Zhou Daocheng, and all members of the hunting team currently in Fang City. As for the other three that have not returned yet, depending on the situation, there is no need to wait any longer. However, under the current situation, Zhou Daocheng still maintained a sense of proportion and did not mobilize all combat forces to besiege. Instead, he left the guards behind to continue to maintain the safety of Fang City. Although the situation is urgent, the danger is actually not great. After all, the east side is full of barren mountains. These two big snakes can only destroy some mountain rocks and will not threaten the safety of Fang City in the short term. Under orderly arrangements, all combat forces were present. A total of 10 people were present. The eldest brother, Zhou Daocheng, Zhou Daocheng, 3 elders of the spiritual snake sect, plus 5 hunting team captains at the 9th level of Qi refining. At the same time, because the battle had already broken out in Fang City, Zhou Daocheng directly carried the dueling bow over. With this second-level magic weapon, it will be much easier to kill the second-level monsters. When everyone arrived and saw these two behemoths, they were all shocked. Zhou Daocheng even asked helplessly, "Daocheng, is this Foggy Valley a snake nest? Why do snake monsters keep coming here?" Zhou Daocheng also helplessly spread his hands. He didn't know what was going on. Perhaps the environment here is really loved by snake monsters, so they come here involuntarily. There were 3 mirage pythons in the past, and now there are spotted vipers and dark-eyed ghost-scaled snakes. They have really hit a snake nest. Don't worry about whether it's a snake nest or not. Let's find a way to deal with these two beasts first. Zhou Daocheng said cautiously. According to the original plan, he only planned to surround and kill a monster beast that had just broken through the 2nd level, but the plan couldn't keep up with the changes, and now they were facing 2 second-level monsters at the same time, and they were not weak at all. A conservative estimate is that the spotted viper should be at the peak of the 1st level of foundation building, while the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake is probably close to the 2nd level of foundation building. With this kind of strength, even with the help of formations, the pressure will inevitably be great. After looking at them for a few seconds, Zhou Daocheng frowned and asked, "Daocheng, can you use formations to separate them?" Disaster. After Zhou Daocheng thought for a while, he reluctantly gave his answer. "They are too strong, too big, and they are very sensitive to smells. It is difficult for me to use the formation to mislead them." Of course, there is one thing Zhou Daocheng did not say. He can actually use the formation at a deeper level to forcibly change the terrain and disperse them into different areas. It's just that there are many people now and the situation is not particularly critical, so I don't want to expose this method. Besides, he also wanted to see whether Wugu's current strength could fight against 2 second-level monsters. This is a huge test for everyone. Then, let's consume them first. We are in the light and they are in the dark. In the end, we will have the advantage. Zhou Daocheng did not hesitate too much and directly determined the battle plan. Zhou Daocheng slightly. The best plan now is to use the talisman and the giant mountain bow to consume these 2 monsters. As the giant ridge bow appeared, others also cast curious glances. Just through the breath and the complicated lines carved on the front of the crossbow, you can tell that the quality of this magical weapon is definitely not low. The elder of the spirit snake sect was even more surprised and said, "Second-level magic weapon?" Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "The Zhou family's treasure is thanks to the help of Senior Zhou Daocheng. If we have this magic weapon, our chances of winning should be much improved." Hearing this, other people also looked happy. Everyone knows how dangerous it is for a group of monks who are only at the 9th level of Qi refining to face 2 second-level monsters. But if there's a second-level magic weapon, the situation is different. Zhang scratched his head and asked curiously, "I have a question for you. This is a second-level magic weapon, and it looks quite large. Can we use it?" "Just try it and you will know." Zhou Daocheng, dressed in white, with a refined temperament, said with a faint smile. Hearing the foundation building master say this, the others did not hesitate and began to try to transport spiritual energy to the giant ridge bow. The giant ridge bow has a great feature, that is, it can input the spiritual energy of multiple cultivators at the same time. This is a very special phenomenon. For example, the second-level magic weapons such as the soul-suppressing bell and the blue moon bracelet can only be refined and used by one cultivator, but the giant ridge bow is different. Not only can it be controlled by multiple people, but it does not need to be refined. Anyone can use it directly. 3 9th-level cultivators of the weapon refinement input their own spiritual energy at the same time, and the giant ridge bow was quickly activated, emitting a yellowish-brown light. Although the 3 of them were very strenuous, they also showed a look of joy after seeing this scene. The arrow on the dueling bow was emitting a red glow. This was the flame arrow, one of the 3 types of crossbow arrows. At this moment, the arrow was covered with a strong fire attribute aura, especially the arrowhead, which looked like a sun full of explosive energy, as if it was about to explode in the next moment. The power contained in it had already reached the 2nd level. Chapter 212 Dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake. Slowly adjusting the direction, several people gritted their teeth and aimed their arrows at the 2 giant pythons below, their eyes full of solemnity. As the energy reached its peak, there was a whoosh sound. The air was instantly cut, like a sharp blade cutting through silk, making a sharp and crisp sound, and the arrow wrapped in hot flames stabbed the ground at a very fast speed. In an instant, it directly pierced into the head of the spotted viper. TSK, TSK, TSK. The shrill and angry hissing sound resounded in the mountains, and spread for dozens of kilometers. Even the people in the Fog Valley market were awakened by the hissing of the beast. The power of the flame arrow is no worse than that of the 2nd-level talisman, and it is even stronger to a certain extent. However, the strength of the spotted viper should not be underestimated. The arrow only penetrated 1/3, but did not completely penetrate the head. But the scorching flames continued to burst out damage, and the hot energy swept the head wantonly. The spotted viper kept twisting its body and shaking its head, trying to get rid of the pain, but it didn't work. Moreover, the spotted viper was huge, and the arrow didn't hurt its vital parts, it just felt severe pain. The spotted viper escaped, but this was not good news for Zhou Daocheng and others, because at the moment of attack just now, the 2 sharp 2nd-level monsters had already noticed the hiding place of humans. The cold eyes stared at everyone through the clouds. Zhou Daocheng didn't panic, but just ordered calmly, "Change 3 people, another arrow." 3 people controlling the giant ridge bow is definitely the best configuration, which will not waste too much spiritual energy, and it is relatively easy. 3 chi refining level 9 strong men were replaced again, and an armor-breaking arrow was replaced. Just now, the disadvantage of the flame arrow was already very obvious. That is, it is difficult to pierce the defense of these 2 monsters. The sharp armor-breaking arrow must be more suitable for facing huge monsters. As the spiritual energy continued to be input, the terrifying aura became stronger and stronger. Facing the crisis hidden in the fog, the 2 2nd-level pythons were extremely uneasy. They were seen swimming quickly. Although they were huge, their speed was still extremely terrifying. What was more worrying was that the 2 monsters did not choose to retreat, but quickly attacked the crowd. After all, they were monsters that had reached the foundation building stage and had a trace of intelligence. They were definitely not brainless beasts. They understood the situation and were able to get rid of these insects hidden in the dark with their strength, so they were not afraid at all. Seeing them coming quickly, several 9th-level chi refining masters panicked and could not help but retreat in fear. Even the 3 people who were controlling the giant ridge bow could not help but fluctuate their spiritual energy, and almost lost all their previous efforts. Fortunately, at this time, Zhou Daocheng stabilized the situation and said calmly, "Don't panic, I'm here." Hearing this comfort, the others calmed down. After all, there was a strong man who had built a foundation, and Zhou Daocheng, the formation master, had not yet made a move, so they really didn't need to panic. With the means of the formation master, even if they couldn't fight against the 2 monsters, it would not be a problem for everyone to leave safely. Just as the spotted viper rushed forward fiercely, the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake followed closely behind, and was about to climb up or where the mountain was. Zhou Daocheng snorted coldly and made a move quickly. The soul-soothing bell made a crisp sound, and the unique mental attack made the two monsters unable to defend themselves. They were hit hard in an instant and hissed again. Hiss TSK, TSK, TSK! Exclamation mark hiss. Good opportunity, take action. As the sound fell, a golden arrow shot out and pierced the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake directly. Success. Everyone showed a happy expression. As long as there was no accident, the power of 2 second-level magic weapons was enough to injure the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake in an instant. But the joy was only for 2 seconds, and the next moment he was stunned. I saw that the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake actually recovered from the mental attack at the critical moment, and then his eyes showed a cold color, and he whipped the armor-piercing arrow with his tail. The sharp arrow was directly whipped away in the air and nailed to the cliff beside it, making a crisp sound. Then the tail was whipped directly on the mountain where everyone was, and most of the mountain was cracked. Be careful! Zhou Daocheng shouted quickly and jumped up quickly. Others did the same and hurriedly avoided the attack. But even so, several people fell directly and were buried by the rubble. No one thought that the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake would actually counterattack in such a situation, and immediately caught everyone off guard. At this time, Zhou Daocheng also reacted that the wisdom of this black-eyed ghost-scaled snake was probably very high. It had already anticipated these things and made timely responses. And there is another very important point, that is, the characteristics of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake. This is a kind of snake that also has the ability to attack mentally. Its dark pupils can not only resist mental attacks to a certain extent, but also have a certain ability to deter mentally. This also explains why the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake recovered so quickly after using the soul-soothing bell just now. Zhou Daocheng only thought about it for a while, and then turned his attention to the battle in front of him again, because at this moment, there is not much time to think, and he must deal with the two giant pythons in front of him as soon as possible. After crushing the mountain, the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake fell down again. But the flower-spotted viper beside it had recovered from the mental attack. After being hit twice in succession, the second-level giant python was completely furious, opened its bloody mouth and howled to the sky. With a scarlet gaze, with a cold and cruel momentum, it first trolled towards the 3 elders of the spirit snake sect who were nearby. The 3 people's expressions changed drastically, and they hurriedly retreated, but it was still too late. The sharp teeth had already attacked, and the fishy smell filled the air in an instant, accompanied by a fatal sense of crisis. Elder Han Yi's eyes condensed, and he quickly threw out the first-level talisman in his hand to try to resist the attack. However, the spell formed by the first-level top-grade talisman was really not worth mentioning for the flower-spotted viper. It just shook its head casually, and without suffering much damage, it attacked again. But it was this pause for a moment that gave Zhou Daocheng the opportunity to save them. The purple chi and green spirit sword formation unfolded in an instant, and 5 flying swords with a faint purple aura passed through the air at a rapid speed, emitting a clear sword sound. However, Zhou Daocheng did not attack the body of the spotted viper. Instead, he relied on his exquisite control of the flying sword to hit the arrow on the top of the spotted viper's head. The huge force directly hit the flaming arrow into the head. If the flaming arrow only caused skin injuries before, at most it injured the bones. Then this time, it directly pierced the skull and hit the brain and important organs inside. Chapter 213 Hunting. So the moment the arrow was inserted, the viper instantly stiffened, twisted uncontrollably, and fell straight back, accompanied by angry and painful roars. After being rescued, the 3 people from the spirit snake sect were still sweating and breathing heavily, obviously scared. If Zhou Daocheng hadn't acted in time, they might have been swallowed by the giant snake and swallowed by the second-level monster. Everyone knows how low the chance of survival is. At the same time, they also deeply felt the danger of besieging the second-level monster. As long as they seize the opportunity, with the strength of the second-level monster, they can easily kill a 9th-level chi-refining cultivator. In just a few breaths, everyone has seen the cunning of these 2 second-level monsters. They have left the beast nature of wild beasts and have a high level of wisdom. Especially the black-eyed ghost scale snake. Not only is it stronger, but also more cunning. which makes everyone feel huge pressure. Moreover, now, everyone has been discovered by the two snakes, and the hidden mountain has been broken. There is no other barrier, so they can only face these two behemoths. Zhou Daocheng did not dare to be careless, and immediately mobilized the formation, and a large amount of mist came to shroud them, trying to confuse them again. But this time, the two second-level monsters were not affected at all. The cold snake pupils passed through the layers of clouds and mist and looked directly at everyone present. They did not rely on their eyes to observe, but were able to keenly track everyone's position at all times through their breath. This is the disadvantage of ordinary mazes. Just relying on a few layers of clouds and mist, it is impossible to confuse the strong. Only real changes are truly effective. For example, the movement of terrain, or the use of formations to create the wrong smell, so as to guide the wrong way. But most of these abilities are not available in this mist. As for the ability to move terrain, Zhou Daocheng will not show it for the time being. As mentioned before, he also wants to see whether he can deal with these two second-level monsters with the strength that Wu Gu has now. According to his estimation, the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng could block one python, while the others besiege the other one. Under the influence of magic tools, formations, and talismans, the combat power should not be much different. However, everyone was still afraid of these two giants, so they were always timid. On the other hand, it was also due to lack of experience or lack of coordination, so they could not fully exert their full strength. However, these defects can be made up through a lot of practice, and the extremely dangerous siege in front of them can just raise everyone's nerves, so that they can devote themselves to it and dare not relax at all. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng also wanted to take this opportunity to enrich everyone's experience and enhance mutual understanding and cooperation. Next, the situation was still very tense. Fortunately, there was the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng, who, with his own strong strength, blocked the injured flower viper in the first time. His idea was very simple, that is, to take advantage of the serious injury of the flower viper and directly solve it first, so that the situation would be much easier. However, Zhou Daocheng still overestimated the reaction speed of others. Because they had just been attacked repeatedly, even the mountain peaks were directly shattered. Many people were panicked and could not even guarantee their own safety, let alone fight back. So at the first moment, only Zhou Daocheng came out in time, and the purple Qi-green spirit sword formation and golden spear 100 vine formation were deployed at the same time. The 5 green spirit flying swords were as fast as lightning, stabbing at the flower viper at a terrifying speed, and the angles were extremely tricky, specifically attacking the eyes, 7 inches, and the wounds on the top of the head. Such exquisite control of the flying swords, even the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng looked at him with admiration. Only sword cultivators who specialize in sword training can understand how rare such skillful and subtle control is. The flower viper was also miserable. On one side, Zhou Daocheng's formation harassed it, and on the other side, Zhou Daocheng continued to attack. In addition to its previous injuries, its strength was weakened a lot, but it was also at the critical moment of life and death. The flower viper showed extremely strong life resilience, dodging the attacks one after another, and even counterattacked. This made the attacks of Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng ineffective for a while. Taking this opportunity, the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake that had just fallen to the bottom of the valley also swam back. As a result, the pressure on the front battlefield doubled. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help sweating on his forehead. He had clearly felt that the power of the several sets of first-level top-grade formations he had was too limited. Golden, Spear 100 Vine Formation and Quicksand Formation were both used for restriction, but they were unlikely to be effective against second-level monsters. As for the Purple Air and Green Spirit Sword Formation, the power it showed was also very limited. Although the speed was fast enough, its armor-breaking and attacking capabilities were seriously insufficient, especially for second-level monsters. What a strong strength! It seems that my brother and I alone are probably not the opponents of these two monsters. Zhou Daocheng thought silently in his heart, thinking about the strategy of encirclement and killing. The two powerful second-level monsters in front of him were definitely not something that two people could fight against. They must be coordinated by multiple people. Zhou Daocheng only looked at the others behind him and shouted, "Don't be dazed, prepare for the siege. 3 people will use the giant bow to launch a sneak attack, and the rest will use the formation to contain them." The people who were just panicked now came to their senses and participated in the battlefield again. And at this time they also found that their situation was not particularly dangerous. As long as they acted carefully, they could handle it easily. Last time, on the one hand, many people were equipped with Liuyan silver scale armor, which had very high self-defense. Even if they fell from the mountain, they would not be seriously injured. On the other hand, they only needed to use the formation to contain the enemy near the periphery, and their safety was still greatly guaranteed. So, everyone began to calm down and attack rationally. Zhou Daocheng immediately arranged for the other 2 monks with quicksand formation to quickly deploy the formation to trap the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake on the side. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng's own quicksand formation and quicksand technique were also quickly deployed. The powerful absorption and swallowing power immediately made the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake sink uncontrollably. Just as he struggled to resist, the golden spear 100-vine formation of the others also immediately took action. The thorny vines that covered the sky and the sun were like a huge net, directly wrapping and binding it. If there were only 1 or 2 layers of thorny vines, the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake could still break free with its strong physical fitness. But now, there are at least 500 or 600 vines binding it, and there is quicksand under the ground constantly swallowing it, instantly restricting it. In this case, the remaining people can join forces to deal with the seriously injured viper. This time, the giant ridge bow did not miss again. Chapter 214 Solving one of the problems. A golden arrow flew over, with a crisp sound of breaking through the air, and pierced directly into the body of the spotted viper. There was no obstruction, and it sank into the snake's body effortlessly. The injury caused by the arrow may not be particularly serious, because the spotted viper is large enough, and even if it is pierced, the wound will not be very large. However, Zhou Daocheng later seized the opportunity and used the purple qi-green spirit sword to pierce the wound continuously. Perhaps, it is difficult for the purple qi-green spirit sword to directly pierce the defense of the second level monster. However, once the wound is created, the 5 extremely flexible flying swords will become very deadly. The continuous staring and destruction caused the originally small wound to continue to expand in a short period of time, and a large amount of blood flowed out, revealing bright red flesh and blood. The spotted viper continued to struggle and twist in pain, but most of the attacks of the crowd were long-range consumption, and no matter how hard it struggled, it had no effect. On the contrary, from time to time, Zhou Daocheng would use extremely sharp swordsmanship to cause more serious injuries and continue to expand the results of the battle. Although the process of siege was very slow, the vitality of the flower viper was indeed decreasing, and the strength of resistance was getting weaker and weaker. Relying on various attacks, the second level monster was worn down bit by bit. And at this time, Zhou Daocheng could also see that the strength of his elder brother Zhou Daocheng was not very strong. Of course, this was also expected, because the strength of a cultivator should be considered from many aspects. But on the one hand, the elder brother Zhou Daocheng had just broken through to the foundation building stage, and it was normal to be struggling in the face of 2 powerful second-level monsters. On the other hand, it was a problem of foundation. Except for an unhandy soul-suppressing bell, Zhou Daocheng had no other means. As a sword cultivator, he could only cut a small hole on the flower viper with this first-level superior longsword. Moreover, he had no formations and talismans, let alone powerful spells. It can be said that he fought completely relying on his own powerful aura, and it was difficult to compare with other foundation-building masters. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but sigh. The family's foundation was too low, and the Wugu market had just started operating, which led to this phenomenon. If this siege went smoothly and a batch of precious monster materials were obtained, it might be possible to refine a second-level magic weapon again, and Zhou Daocheng's strength would definitely be greatly improved. Moreover, the remaining monster materials could also become the foundation of the Zhou family. Thinking of this, Zhou Daocheng no longer held back, and 3 sets of first-level top-grade formations were deployed at the same time, temporarily breaking away from the control of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake, and attacking the spotted viper in an all-round way. Quicksand formation and quicksand technique were used for control. Golden spear 100 vine formation was used for binding and attacking, restraining his resistance. Purple chi-green spirit sword formation burst out with terrifying lethality, directly piercing through the armor-piercing arrow to form a wound, tearing off a lot of flesh and blood. At the same time, the cultivator who controlled the giant ridge bow in the back and Zhou Daocheng on the side were also exerting their strength at the same time. The sword condensed a brilliant light, swept across the head, and directly cut off half of the head. This time, the monk who controlled the giant ridge bow did not continue to use the armor-piercing arrow, but used the flame arrow. The armor-piercing arrow certainly has a stronger attack power, but it can only break the defense and cannot cause continuous damage. But the flame arrow is different. Once it penetrates the flesh and blood, it can explode directly, and it can continue to burn afterwards, causing much more damage than other arrows. This time, with Zhou Daocheng's advance move, the flame arrow directly aimed at the injured head. The flames cut through the sky, and the red light was like a meteor, directly penetrating into the damaged head of the spotted viper. Boom bang! There was a deafening explosion, and even the surrounding clouds were dispersed. Immediately afterwards, there was the kai sound of the flame burning the flesh and blood. This arrow completely penetrated the head of the spotted viper, and the flames spread wildly in its brain. The consciousness of the spotted viper was obviously blurred, and its body twisted more violently, but it lasted for a short time. After only a few breaths, it collapsed to the ground, and the remaining half of its head was breathing more and less. Obviously, after this series of killing moves, this second level monster has been seriously injured and its life is about to end. But at this time, Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng both retreated and did not kill the spotted viper immediately. Python-like monsters have extremely tenacious vitality. Even if the whole head is chopped off, they can still fight back. In this situation, the spotted viper seems to be close to death, but it is actually waiting to give the enemy a fatal blow. Once you get close at this time, you may not only fail to kill it, but you may also lose your own life. The best way is to trap it here and let time slowly take its life away. After all, without taking any healing elixir, it would be difficult for this flower viper to recover from such a serious injury by its own recovery ability. Zhou Daocheng calmly arranged it, using the mist to separate the flower viper to one side, letting it slowly wait for death. At the same time, he let the giant ridge bow shoot an arrow at the flower viper's head again to ensure that it would be difficult for it to recover. Then, all the combat power was thrown at the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake on the side. It took less than a quarter of an hour to besiege the flower viper just now, and now the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake is still controlled by several formations. But with the continuous struggle, many thorny vines have been broken free. Even the quicksand formation below could not control this powerful monster. After all, the strength of the black-eyed ghost-scale snake is probably equivalent to that of a second-level foundation-building warrior. It is still too difficult to trap it with a first-level superior formation. Zhou Daocheng could not help but frown, and at the same time, he deployed his quicksand formation and golden spear 100 vine formation. After all, he is a formation master. Although he uses the same formation, his power is far superior to others. Soon, he strengthened the control over the black-eyed ghost-scale snake again. Prepare the giant ridge bow, shoot at the 7 inches or the head, and try to hit it hard before this beast completely breaks free. Zhou Daocheng shouted to the back. Now we must seize the time. Now is the best opportunity. Only now can the black-eyed ghost-scale snake be injured. The probability of winning will be greater. The 3 people who controlled the giant ridge bow in the back also had ferocious faces at this time, with big beads of sweat on their faces, soaking the ground. The 3 of them had already shot 3 arrows in a short period of time, almost consuming all the spiritual energy in their bodies. Even if they took several returning magic pills in a row, they could not recover in a short time. At this time, Zhou Daocheng immediately returned and took over the control of the giant ridgebow. It was much easier for a foundation-building expert to control a second-level magic weapon, and soon the giant ridgebow once again emitted a golden light. Chapter 215 Escape or Chase. It was still the armor-piercing arrow used to create wounds. The golden light, with its sharp aura, immediately cut a hole in the air and pierced directly into the neck of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake. As the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake let out a hiss, the giant ridgebow was filled with spiritual energy again. It was definitely not enough to rely on just one arrow. Zhou Daocheng looked serious and quickly shot another armor-piercing arrow. This time the angle was more tricky, and it pierced directly into the dark pupil at the moment when the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake struggled. Puff. Hiss. A dull sound, accompanied by a painful roar. The huge body continued to struggle and twist, and even many array plates were damaged. However, everyone gritted their teeth, without any slack, and continued to input spiritual energy into the array. The three elders of the spirit snake sect also took out a special powder, which seemed to be aimed at python-like monsters, and sprinkled it directly near the head of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake. After just a few breaths, the strength of the struggle of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake was decreasing. Zhou Daocheng seized the opportunity again and shot the third arrow directly. However, when shooting, he felt a pang of heartache. The arrows of the giant ridgebow are also very precious second-level magic weapons, and they are disposable, which is quite difficult to make. It took only a short time of tea, and 6 arrows were directly consumed. If the fourth brother Zhou Daocheng knew about this, his heart would bleed. But in such a situation, he could no longer consider the loss. The third armor-piercing arrow flew over and pierced the head again. At this time, it was time for Zhou Daocheng to take action. With the wounds created by the 3 armor-piercing arrows, he could continue to attack with the purple chi and green spirit sword to expand the wound. The same strategy as before, not pursuing a fatal blow, but using continuous attacks to gradually consume the life of this second-level monster. Seeing the wound getting bigger and bigger, Zhou Daocheng's face was already full of joy. If everything goes well, he can harvest 2 second-level monsters this time. This means that his strength can be greatly improved. Before breaking through the foundation building stage, he has a formation that is not weaker than the foundation building stage, which is enough to make him excited. In this way, his identity as the master of the Fog Valley is well deserved. Otherwise, once he comes out of the Fog Valley, he will only have the cultivation of the chi refining stage, which is somewhat unworthy of the name. However, just as he was looking forward to the joy of harvest, the completely bound black-eyed ghost-scaled snake seemed to feel the crisis of life. At this moment, this terrifying second-level monster burst out with extremely strong potential, and a power from the depths of the soul burst out. I saw that the remaining black snake pupil actually flowed with a faint luster at this moment, and it attacked the surrounding cultivators with a bang. Although everyone was more than 50 meters away from the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake. But this is a mental attack. In just a moment, it directly passed through the formation and randomly attacked the surrounding chi-refining 9th-level cultivators. Be careful. Zhou Daocheng immediately discovered it and immediately warned, but it was too late. The invisible and colorless spiritual attack suddenly attacked the 2 9th-level chi-refining cultivators. Both of them were the captains of the hunting team, and one of them was Yuanzong. When they were attacked for the first time, their eyes were sluggish for a moment, their hands moved, and then they fell straight down. The formation in their hands also lost control at this moment. The loss of 2 sets of formations at once greatly reduced the binding force. The black-eyed ghost-scaled snake struggled hard at this moment and broke free from the binding of everyone in an instant. The black-eyed ghost-scaled snake roared out, making an angry roar, and the terrifying breath filled the valley, making everyone couldn't help but take a step back. This monster finally got rid of control. At this moment, it was already very difficult to continue to control it. Zhou Daocheng frowned, thinking in his heart that it was not good. Whether it was wisdom or strength, this black-eyed ghost-scaled snake was far from being comparable to the spotted viper. The same injury almost took away half of the life of the spotted viper, but for the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake, there was still such a powerful force to resist. It even relied on mental attacks to seriously injure two 9th-level Qi refining masters, and their lives and deaths were unknown. Facing the current situation, even Zhou Daocheng, who was in the foundation building period, felt extremely difficult. He was not an opponent at all in the confrontation. The collective siege also lost the best opportunity. When everyone was thinking about how to solve the current dilemma, the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake had already made a choice. After staring at fiercely, a hint of rationality appeared in its bloodthirsty eyes, and finally swam directly out of the fog valley. Seeing this scene, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, including Zhou Daocheng, but following closely, his heart was full of regret and reluctance. This is a second-level monster, and it took the initiative to swim into the formation. After all, it is the best time to kill him. Once it is let go, I don't know when it will be the next time I want to surround and kill it. Moreover, the two sides have already become enemies. If this monster retaliates against Wugu in the future, or keeps wandering around, it will definitely be a very troublesome matter. More importantly, if you want to refine the spirit puppet formation, you must use the spirits of two monsters. And it is best to use the spirits of monsters of the same type. The two python monsters in front of him are definitely the best choice. If one escapes, he will suffer a great loss. Zhou Daocheng gritted his teeth, hesitant in his heart, thinking and weighing in his eyes. If he wanted to make a move, everyone would inevitably suffer losses. Last time, he must have won in the end. It was a gamble. If he didn't make a move, he would be unwilling. Just as he was hesitating, Elder Han Yi of the Spirit Snake sect seemed to see his thoughts, took the initiative to step forward, and said a few words silently. Hearing this, Zhou Daocheng's eyes lit up and he immediately asked, "Elder Han, are you serious?" "Don't worry, just based on our relationship, don't you still believe me?" Han Yi smiled and said, "This is a second-level medicine powder specially configured with a unique formula in our spirit snake. It is extremely expensive and rare." "No problem." After thinking about it, Zhou Daocheng also knew that it was impossible to do it now, so he nodded and said, "Okay, thank you this time." After making a decision, Zhou Daocheng no longer hesitated, took the initiative to open the exit of the Fog Valley formation, and let the seriously injured black-eyed ghost-scale snake leave. This second-level monster did not hesitate. Between revenge and escape, he resolutely chose the latter. Because of its high wisdom, it knows how to seek benefits and avoid harm, and can suppress the beast and killing intent in its heart, which means that it has a certain wisdom and is no longer a pure beast. Looking at the giant snake gradually moving away, Zhou Daocheng also let out a long breath. Today's siege is too dangerous. If you are not careful, a large number of cultivators will die at the hands of monsters. Chapter 216 Killing the Viper. At the same time, let him correctly realize his own strength. Even if there are a large number of first-level high-quality magic tools and formations, it is difficult to surpass a major level and cause too much damage to the second-level monster. The first-level high-quality formation that he thinks is indeed very powerful, but if you want to use it to fight against the second-level monster, it is still very difficult. At least for now, in the whole battle, the damage caused by the giant ridge bow is the greatest, and it is the most powerful means. The eldest brother Zhou Daocheng is second, and his injuries are also constantly expanding. However, due to the magic tools and spells, he is still a certain distance away from the truly powerful foundation-building cultivator. Finally, the purple Qi-green spirit sword formation also performed well in this siege and caused very great damage, which is not disappointing. That ray of innate purple Qi. Zhou Daocheng is also thinking about whether he can use the remaining purple Qi-green spirit bamboo to arrange a more powerful second-level formation. In this way, as long as he breaks through the second level, he will not be able to gain powerful strength immediately. Of course, this is all later. Everything will have to wait until he breaks through the foundation before he can slowly plan. The most important thing at the moment is to get rid of this lingering flower viper. Looking at this second-level monster, Zhou Daocheng's eyes showed excitement. The benefits of harvesting a complete second-level monster corpse are far beyond imagination. Just the monster materials on the body are enough for everyone to harvest a large number of spirit stones. And there are snake blood and snake meat, at least dozens of tons. Whether it is sold for spirit stones or stored for self-consumption, it is a very good choice. Such high-quality blood and flesh are absolutely a great tonic even for cultivators at the 9th level of chi refining, which can greatly enhance their strength. Now, the flower viper collapsed on the ground and no longer has much resistance. But Zhou Daocheng still did not act rashly. Now the overall situation has been decided. There is no need to grab these dozens of minutes of time, which will put himself in danger. Therefore, he directly arranged for all the cultivators on the battlefield to repair and recover on the spot, waiting for the complete death of the spotted viper. At the same time, he also took a large amount of elixirs to heal the wounds of Yuanzong and the other two who were seriously injured. The mental attack of the second-level monster was no joke, and it was a full-strength attack under anger. If the two were not careful, they would definitely die. Fortunately, the mental attack of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake came from his two black pupils. However, before he attacked, Zhou Daocheng had already used the giant ridge bow to blind one of his eyes, resulting in the mental attack of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake being only 50% to 60% of its original power. In this way, it was possible for the two to survive. However, even so, the spirits of the two were still greatly damaged, and irreversible damage occurred. Although their lives were saved, it should be impossible for them to break through the foundation in the future. Because even in the foundation building period, there are certain requirements for the strength of the soul. Although it does not need to be too strong, if there has been irreparable damage, the success rate of the breakthrough will be greatly reduced. By then, even if the foundation building pill is found, the probability of breakthrough will not exceed 20%. For casual cultivators, this almost means that they have no chance to build a foundation. Zhou Daocheng sighed, feeling helpless. He expected to suffer such a blow. After all, this was a siege of a second-level monster, and it was inevitable that there would be damage. No one died, which was the best outcome. Arrange a few people to carry Yuanzong and the others back to the Fog Valley to rest, while the rest continued to repair on the spot and wait for the death of the spotted viper. It was not until noon the next day that this tenacious second-level monster completely lost all vitality. Zhou Daocheng, who closed his eyes to rest, slowly opened his eyes, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Finally dead. What a terrible vitality! Under such a fatal injury, he dragged the broken half of his brain and held out for 5 or 6 hours, which was really amazing. But now, the dust has finally settled. First thing Zhou Daocheng did was to find his elder brother Zhou Daocheng and ask him to help extract the essence of the monster. It is not a simple matter to obtain the essence of the monster. There are two very important conditions. First, the essence must be fresh and complete. This means that the essence must be extracted immediately when the monster dies and stored in a special instrument. Moreover, if the essence is accidentally destroyed during the battle, it cannot be extracted. Secondly, only the strong in the foundation building stage have the ability to extract the essence. Because it is necessary to use spiritual energy to wrap the essence, and to bind and control it. For the cultivators in the chi refining stage, this is impossible, because it is impossible to let the spiritual energy leave the body, let alone control the essence. But it happens that Zhou Daocheng now meets both conditions. Zhou Daocheng did not dare to be careless. He took a pre-made vial and carefully took out the essence of the viper. I saw a tiny white snake, which looked illusory. Zhou Daocheng used his spiritual energy to bind it and forcibly pulled out its broken head. The snake spirit was in the shape of a spotted viper. Because it had just died not long ago, it was still very alive, constantly roaring and struggling, and possessed a very strong spirituality. Zhou Daocheng stuffed it directly into the jade bottle, and then handed it to Zhou Daocheng, and then instructed, "Remember to call me when you need it." Although it is only a spirit, this thing is very dangerous. Zhou Daocheng nodded. Even if his elder brother didn't remind him, he would actually do so. After all, he still cherishes his life. Next, it is the most exciting moment, decomposing the body of the second-level monster. This is the biggest gain of this time. It can bring huge benefits to everyone, enhance the foundation of Fog Valley, and greatly improve its strength. Moreover, every part of the second level monster's body has extremely high value. Zhou Daocheng is responsible for decomposition, gradually dividing the body of this monster into different parts. This process is very complicated and requires extra care, so it took 2 days and 2 nights just to decompose the body. First, bloodletting is performed. The blood of the monster is full of spiritual energy, but in most cases it is not taken directly, but used for other purposes. For example, it can be combined with other spiritual medicines to make plant growth liquid, or it can be used in alchemy, talismans and other skills. It can even be used to cultivate other snake monsters. It can be said that the number is huge, the uses are diverse, and the value is extremely high. Then came the scales. Every snake's scale was picked off completely, ensuring that it was intact, even though it was a bit of flesh and blood, to prevent the scales from losing their spirituality. Scales are one of the most precious monster materials and are excellent materials for refining weapons. No matter which market they are in, they can be easily sold for a good price. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Distribution of Monster Materials. Even only one scale is needed as a protective mirror to make a simple defensive weapon, and the defensive ability is not bad. Then there is the cutting of the snake meat. The sharp instrument cuts through the crystal clear snake meat, dividing it into pieces of similar size. Each piece is extremely tender and plump, dyed with scarlet blood, which makes people salivate. And the amount of snake meat is very large. After all, the spotted viper is very large, with a meat mass of at least tens of thousands of kilograms. Zhou Daocheng was also very generous. All the monks participating in the battle were allocated 100 kilograms each, which was a lot of wealth even for a 9th level chi refining monk. As for the rest, Zhou Daocheng plans to build an ice house to store the snake meat. It will be a good choice whether he eats it himself or sells it in the market. The matter of building the ice house was directly handed over to Mr. Wei Hanshan. Is this difficult or simple? If you just build an underground ordinary ice cave, as long as you find enough ice cubes, it will not be very troublesome. However, if you want to build a large ice house and keep meat fresh for a long time, it will be relatively troublesome. Because this requires the use of precious ice attribute heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and there are quite a lot of them. Wei Lao searched for a long time, but found out that there was no ice-type material in Fang City. Therefore, he could only resort to the next best thing and use ice attribute spells to create reluctantly a small ice house to temporarily store the snake meat. We can only wait until we find ice attribute ores and build an ice house again. In addition to ordinary snake meat, snake gall was also taken out, which is also a very good material and has a strong detoxification effect. Although this type of spotted viper has no toxins of its own, it is extremely resistant to the toxins of other monsters thanks to its snake gall bladder. Therefore, this kind of snake gall can be used to make detoxifying elixirs, which is of great value. Especially in Foggy Valley, the price of detoxifying elixirs should be higher. Because this place is close to the poisonous insect swamp, some monks will accidentally enter it and be attacked by poisonous snakes and beasts. Therefore, he always keeps a few detoxifying elixirs with him in case of emergencies, so these types of elixirs are very popular. Especially those of higher quality, which can detoxify almost all kinds of poisons. In the environment around the 100 insect poison swamp, it is almost equal to an extra life. After all this was done, all that was left was a huge snake bone. It is still stained with blood, but it looks as white as jade, extremely smooth, and has a warm luster like jade. This snake bone will all be handed over to the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng. As the only foundation building monk, it is understandable that he monopolizes so much harvest, and the other monks have no objections. After that, you only need to find a second level weapon refiner to condense and forge this snake bone, and then combine it with other ore materials to refine a second-level magic weapon. After all the harvests were distributed, everyone's face was filled with smiles and they were obviously in a good mood. Although everyone's harvest was only part of the snake blood and snake meat, the quality could reach the second level after all, and everyone was still very satisfied. After everyone returned to Foggy Valley, the hunt also came to an end. However, no one noticed that Zhou Daocheng, Zhou Daocheng, and several spirit snake sect elders gathered together again. Zhou Daocheng asked, "Elder Han, please tell me in detail, what is the specific function of the medicinal powder you use?" Han Yi said, "Senior, this is an extremely precious second-level medicinal powder. On the one hand, it can leave a scent on the monsters, making it easier to track and hunt them. On the other hand, if a large amount is inhaled, the python-like monsters will slowly enter a state of paralysis. They won't care at first. Their bodies will just be slightly weak, but there will not be any obvious changes. But once it relaxes, falls into a deep sleep or rests, the toxins from this medicinal powder will quickly spread in the body, paralyzing the whole body through the blood, making it difficult to resist. We just need to follow the scent, track down the monster, and kill it directly after it falls asleep." Zhou Daocheng also looked surprised when he heard this. He did not expect that the spirit snake sect members would actually make preparations early. They were indeed a sect that had been dealing with snakes all year round and had rich experience. However, Zhou Daocheng still had some doubts. "You used this powder in advance. Did you expect it to escape?" Hearing this question, Elder Han Yi smiled and said, "Just in case, and there is a piece of material in the black-eyed ghost scale snake that our spirit snake sect must obtain. I hope that Senior can give it to us in the end." "Oh? What material?" Zhou Daocheng was a little confused. Elder Han Yi thought for a moment and finally said, "Those eyes." Zhou Daocheng was stunned, but he didn't expect that the material the spirit snake sect wanted was actually the most precious item on the dark-eyed ghost scale snake. Those eyes are high-quality materials for making spiritual magic weapons, and are of extraordinary value. You want to refine spiritual magic weapons? But if one of the eyes is damaged, it should have a big impact, right? Elder Han Yi shook his head and said, "That's not true. Our spirit snake sect doesn't know anything about refining weapons, and we have no idea of refining spiritual weapons, that you." Regarding Zhou Daocheng's in-depth inquiry, Han Yi didn't say much, but just mentioned in a vague way, "Senior, you don't need to ask more. It has something to do with spirits swallowing ants." Although Zhou Daocheng was curious, he did not continue to investigate. After all, it might involve the secrets within the sect. If he continued to ask, it would be impolite. In response, Zhou Daocheng also generously said that the 2 eyeballs would be handed over to them directly, and even the rest of the monster materials could be divided equally between the 2 parties. After all, without the means of the spirit snake sect, they would most likely not be able to kill the monster. Next, the 5 people also kept going, following the smell left by the black-eyed ghost scale snake, and chased directly out of the fog valley. Crossing a large mountain range and walking out of the formation range, everyone immediately became alert and checked the surrounding situation. Because the fog valley market itself is already at the edge of the East Great Wilderness, once it comes out of the east side of the Fog Mountains Valley, the quality of the surrounding beasts will be much higher, and the environment will be extremely harsh, especially the second-level monsters, which are almost geometrically increased. Even monsters such as the black-eyed ghost scale snake and the spotted viper are not particularly strong here. If you are not careful, you may not find the black-eyed ghost scale snake before being found by other second-level monsters. Zhou Daocheng was also extremely vigilant, using the Wu Earth spiritual chi to investigate the surrounding situation at all times. This was an area that no cultivator had ever set foot on. It was desolate and barren, with almost no roads to speak of, and there were all kinds of dangers. In such a completely unfamiliar situation, even if he saw some natural treasures, Zhou Daocheng did not dare to pick them easily, for fear of touching something highly poisonous. Only some familiar spiritual medicines were carefully dug out. Chapter 218 Abnormal Situation. In such an environment, you can never be too careful. The most important thing is to ensure your own safety. As long as you can survive, you will always have the opportunity to explore again in the future. There is no need to take risks now. And the main task now is still to find traces of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake. Through the flowers and plants on the ground that were crushed by giant objects, and the fragrance left in the air, the group quickly traveled through the mountains. But before taking a few steps, the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng frowned, stopped warily, and grabbed Zhou Daocheng by the way. "What's wrong?" Zhou Daocheng asked with some confusion. "Be careful. I feel the breath of the second level monster." Zhou Daocheng was extremely alert and looked around. Zhou Daocheng's eyes were confused, and he also used the Wu to spiritual energy to try to eat it. He did feel a vague aura of a second level monster, but he just thought it was left by the black-eyed ghost-scale snake and didn't pay much attention to it. However, Zhou Daocheng did not forget it, shook his head and said, "It's not the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake, but there are other second-level monsters, and I feel there are quite a lot of them." As soon as these words came out, Zhou Daocheng obviously did not dare to be careless, and asked thoughtfully, "This is the Eastern Great Wilderness vein after all. It should be normal to have a second level, right?" "That's not right. I have also been looking for monsters here some time ago, so I know the situation here better. According to my observation, there were not so many second-order monsters here before," Zhou Daocheng said seriously, with a look in his eyes, a hint of solemnity. Then, as if he was worried that Zhou Daocheng would not believe it, he continued, "Moreover, there should not have been any second-order monsters breaking into the formation before, right? Why did they suddenly appear this time, and there were two at once?" After being reminded like this, Zhou Daocheng finally noticed the abnormality. Moreover, his own spiritual energy also has extremely strong detection capabilities, and he can indeed sense many frightening monster auras. The location where everyone is now has just left the Wugu Mountains. Logically speaking, the number of monsters is not particularly large. Otherwise, if there were really a large number of second-order monsters living here, they would have already entered the Foggy Valley, and it would not be the case until today, when only 2 second-order pythons entered. Thinking of this, Zhou Daocheng felt uneasy. Any abnormal situation meant that something extraordinary would happen. At the same time, he was also thinking about what kind of situation could cause the monsters inside the Eastern Great Wilderness to suddenly move outside. There are probably two situations. First, there are powerful monsters driving the beast tide. This is not uncommon in the world of immortality. Some powerful monsters already have wisdom that is not weaker than that of humans. They will also snatch precious resources and spiritual veins. Therefore, some large-scale markets often face the invasion of monsters. Only by guarding the spiritual veins can the market continue to operate. But this situation will most likely not happen in the small Wuyifang city. Because anyone who can drive the tide of monsters must be at least third-order monsters. It is impossible for second-order monsters to have such wisdom. However, third-level monsters will definitely not be interested in Wuyifang city, so this possibility can be ruled out. Another possibility is that some unexpected circumstances occurred in the place where these monsters originally lived, forcing them to leave. Zhou Daocheng thought for a long time and still felt that this was the most likely possibility. "Fellow Taoist Zhou Daocheng, it seems that something has happened nearby. It will be necessary to investigate in the future," Zhou Daocheng said meaningfully. Zhou Daocheng nodded. "Yes, we really need to be more vigilant. If something does happen, then Zhou Daocheng needs to make some preparations, especially to strengthen the vigilance on the east side of the Wugu Mountains. It is best to arrange for some monks to be stationed to avoid another invasion of monsters." After noticing these anomalies, Zhou Daocheng and others were more careful in their next actions, trying to avoid some powerful monsters as much as possible. Fortunately, as a second-level monster, the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake seemed to be aware of the dangers surrounding it, so he was extra careful on the way back to his lair. Almost all the routes are detoured from the edge, so the journey is relatively safe. After walking for almost half a day, the aura left by the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake became stronger and stronger. This shows that this second-level monster has stopped and is resting in the nearby area. This is similar to what several people expected. A seriously injured monster cannot leave too far and will definitely rest in a nearby area. The 5 people looked at each other and began to explore the surroundings, looking for traces of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake. It only took a quarter of an hour for Zhou Daocheng to see several broken and pulled-out arrows in a cave next to a pool. It is the bow and arrow of dueling bow. Found it. Zhou Daocheng looked happy and immediately used the communication stone to contact others. If there were no accidents, the black-eyed ghost-scale snake should be in this cave. Even Zhou Daocheng had felt the aura and was in a very lethargic state. It was obvious that the medicinal powder from the spirit snake sect was working. After all, the wisdom of the monster beast cannot be compared with that of humans. Even though it has been very careful and extremely powerful, it still suffered from evil hands. The 5 people approached the cave cautiously. Zhou Daocheng was about to enter and explore, but was stopped by the elder of the spirit snake sect. Han Yi was extremely vigilant and said, "Senior, you can't be too careful in this matter. Let's throw in another pack of medicinal powder." Zhou Daocheng was speechless for a moment. It seemed that the people of the spirit snake sect were more cautious than him, and they had considered it more thoroughly. Even though the monster had fallen into a coma, they still did not take it lightly. Zhou Daocheng did not refuse. This black-eyed ghost-scaled snake was powerful and proficient in mental attacks, so he had to be careful. So, Han Yi reluctantly took out a bag of medicine powder, gritted his teeth, and chose to use it. Obviously, this medicine powder was very expensive, and even the spirit snake sect was reluctant to use it. Later, use the flame to burn it, form a lot of smoke and dust, and blow it all into the cave. After burning, this medicine powder will have a better effect, be easier to absorb, and can quickly fall into a state of complete paralysis. This process lasted for nearly 3 hours. It was not until the entire cave was filled with thick smoke that everyone sent a few soul-swallowing ants to enter to check the situation. After confirming that the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake was completely unconscious, the 5 people dared to enter. As soon as you enter, you can smell the strong smell of blood and the earthy smell of pythons. The sticky liquid in the cave makes people feel extremely uncomfortable, and the inside is extremely humid. The ground is connected to the pond outside. There is a layer of water half a foot deep, and the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake lies directly in it. It seems that just after returning to the cave, after removing the defense, it fell into a deep sleep, and then under the effect of the powder, it has now completely fainted. Zhou Daocheng was very excited when he saw this scene. It was a pie in the sky to capture a second-level monster without any effort. Chapter 219 Underground Ice Cave. Even for the Foundation building forces, hunting a second-level monster is not an easy task, but everyone did it, and killed 2 second-level monsters at once. After Han Yi simply checked the physical condition of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake, he urgently said, "Senior, it has completely fallen into a coma. We have to act as soon as possible." Zhou Daocheng nodded and asked, "Directly nail it from 7 places to get rid of this beast?" "Maybe not." Han Yi frowned and shook his head, explaining, "Although this powder has a strong paralysis effect and has completely spread in the blood of the monster, it is a second-level monster after all. Even if it is in a deep sleep, if it feels a fatal threat, it may still wake up from its sleep. In order to be on the safe side, it is better to use gentler means to slowly grind it to death." After this, Zhou Daocheng also frowned slightly. Now he understands why Han Yi and others continue to consume powder for anesthesia before entering the cave. It should be the effect of the powder, which is not as powerful as imagined. Otherwise, with this powder, the spirit snake sect would have been able to hunt down the second-level snake monster without injury. However, after thinking about it, Zhou Daocheng did not think this was a very troublesome problem. Now the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake has fallen into a deep sleep, equivalent to fish on the chopping board. Is it still impossible to solve it? At worst, it can only be solved in another way. Zhou Daocheng made a prompt decision and started bleeding the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake directly. Since killing it directly will wake it up, it will be simmered over low heat, like a frog in warm water, consuming its life bit by bit. By then, even if it wakes up, it will have lost most of its blood and spiritual energy, and naturally it will not be able to resist. At the same time, preparations will be made in all aspects. As the only foundation building expert, Zhou Daocheng has inserted his long sword into the scales of the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake at 7 inches, but it has not entered the heart. In this way, once this monster wakes up, it can directly end his life. On the other side, Zhou Daocheng also used the formation to completely control it. The quicksand formation sucked it to the ground, and the golden spear 100 vine formation tied it tightly. Even if it can only be restricted for a moment, it is a crucial moment. After all the preparations were made, the threat of this second level monster had been reduced to the lowest. And the following process was as smooth as expected. After 2 hours of bleeding, the second level monster was almost drained, and its breath was extremely weak. As Zhou Daocheng expected before, this relatively gentle method did not wake up the monster halfway. At the end, while it was extremely weak, a sword was directly inserted into the 7 inches. In an instant, the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake felt the crisis of life, opened its eyes suddenly, and tried to struggle and resist. Unfortunately, it was too weak to make an effective resistance, and even mental attacks could not be used. In the end, Zhou Daocheng directly killed it with a fatal blow, ending his life. Next, after a few minutes of simple rest, it was quickly dissected and decomposed. The 2 snake pupils were dug out and handed over to the 3 elders of the spirit snake sect. The spirit was taken out by Zhou Daocheng and stored in a jade bottle, and was taken by Zhou Daocheng. Perhaps because it was too weak in life, the soul was also greatly suppressed, causing the spirit of the black-eyed ghost-scale snake to be somewhat sluggish. But it doesn't matter. As long as it recovers for a period of time, it can still be used to set up the formation. Finally, the body of the black-eyed ghost-scale snake was also directly decomposed, but because of its large size, everyone's storage bags could not fit it. So, in the end, all the scales and snake bones were taken away, and the remaining blood and snake meat were temporarily left in the cave. Zhou Daocheng took action and arranged a formation to conceal the breath to prevent being discovered by other monsters. After doing all this, the group returned directly to the Fog Valley. Later, Zhou Daocheng directly arranged for Wei Hanshan Weilao to send monks to the snake cave to transport the snake meat and blood back. Wei Hanshan learned that he had another harvest, and rushed from the market without stopping. His face was excited, surprised, and helpless. He was impressed by the rapid improvement of the strength of Wugu market. In just 1 or 2 days, he had hunted 2 second-level pythons. The benefits were not ordinary. However, dealing with the bodies of these second-level monsters made this old man feel stressed. After all, such a large amount of snake meat and blood cannot be placed in a random place, but must be stored. Previously, only the body of the spotted viper could be stored with a small amount of ice, but it was barely enough. As a result, there is one more now, and things are a bit troublesome. In desperation, he had to find Zhou Daocheng. After hearing the situation, Zhou Daocheng also thought for a moment and made a decision immediately. The flesh and blood of the second-level monsters are very valuable. Long-term use can greatly improve strength, and it must not be wasted. Moreover, from now on, he might still hunt the second-level monsters, and then he would get a lot of flesh and blood, and storage would become a big problem. Therefore, it is very necessary to build a large ice storage to store these fresh flesh and blood, which can also be used as a warehouse for the entire Fog Valley to store some meat that needs to be kept fresh. So, Zhou Daocheng immediately arranged for people to collect ice attribute ores or resources. At the same time, he began to look for a suitable place to build an ice storage. It must be said that as the Lord of the Mist Valley, he now possesses enormous power and energy. In the past, it would have been very troublesome to find ice attribute resources temporarily, but now it is different. The Wang family just happened to have a batch of precious ice attribute ores, and took the initiative to offer them to Zhou Daocheng. Then, a group of 9th-level Qi refining masters were sent to Beifang City to purchase a large number of first-level top-grade ice ores, and directly gather the materials for building an ice storage. Finally, Zhou Daocheng chose the address of the ice cave in the mountains next to the second valley. Dig out a slightly larger underground space, and use ice and ice attribute ores inside to construct an ice cave. The function of ice ore is mainly to provide a continuous supply of cold air to maintain the temperature of the entire underground ice cave. As for the main body of the entire ice storage, it is actually to freeze water into ice cubes, which is not much different from the means of ordinary mortals, except that some ice attribute ores will be mixed in the ice cubes. There is really no other way. There are no snowy mountains or ice fields around Wuyifang City. High-quality ice attribute materials are very rare and difficult to buy. The area of an underground ice cave is definitely not small, so it is naturally impossible to use all the expensive ice attribute ores. On the contrary, ice blocks have a very good cost-effectiveness. At worst, when I get richer in the future, I can rebuild it with other materials. For now, I can only make do with it. Chapter 220. The situation worsens. In the next few days, the monks in Wuyifang City were in pain and happiness. First, they transported the flesh and blood of the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake back from the snake's lair. It was a huge project that took 7 days. At the same time, the underground ice cave must be built simultaneously, which is also a huge workload and consumes a lot of manpower and material resources. All the monks who belong to Foggy Valley, except for the daily guard members, are digging underground ice caves and making ice blocks to build them. It took more than half a month of busy work to finish this matter. When Zhou Daocheng came to inspect the ice cave, he saw a piece of ice blue pure ice, neatly arranged in the underground ice cave, with wisps of cold air floating in the air to ensure that the items stored here can stay fresh. The temperature here always remains extremely low, which is a very good training environment even for Bingalingan monks. But then I thought about it. Almost all ice spirit root monks have single spirit roots. Even in King Shan sect, they are all geniuses that everyone is competing for. How can there be a lack of cultivation environment? Zhou Daocheng smiled and secretly said that he was still short-sighted and had never seen the big world. However, he was still very satisfied with the underground ice cave in front of him. It could reach 30 feet in length and about 10 feet in width. It was not particularly huge. However, it is definitely more than enough for short-term use. At the same time, the blood, snake meat, snake gall and other materials of the spotted viper and the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake have all been transported in and stored in layers of ice. After the construction of the underground ice cave was completed, Zhou Daocheng finally felt relieved and could turn his mind to other aspects. There are still many things that he needs to worry about in Wugu recently. The most important aspect is the second-order monsters in the periphery. The situation that was previously detected finally to be revealed at this moment. After the spotted viper and the dark-eyed ghost-scaled snake accidentally entered the Foggy Valley, several second-level monsters appeared, wandering around the outskirts of the Foggy Valley city, and it can be clearly found that the number of second-order monsters around is still increasing. In the past, it was difficult to see a second-level monster even after being out for several months. Still now, in just half a month, the hunting teams in Wugu Valley were attacked by second-level monsters one after another, and all suffered heavy losses. Even the most serious one directly resulted in the death of a hunting team leader who was at the 9th level of Qi refining, and the entire hunting team was wiped out. This incident soon spread throughout Wuyifang City, making everyone else panic and not daring to leave Wugu easily. Not only the members of the hunting team, but also the casual cultivators who have been active around Wuyifang City for a long time are the same. After realizing that the surrounding environment has become dangerous, they all dare not go out easily. Of course, this is not completely without benefits, because most of the monks stay in Fangxi, which makes their business in Wuyifangxi a lot better. But Zhou Daocheng really doesn't care about this income. After all, only if the casual cultivators leave the market, continue to hunt monsters, create value, and then give back to the market, can they continue to develop. If the threat of second-level monsters becomes more and more serious and causes casual cultivators to dare not move around, then things will be in trouble, which may lead to stagnation in the development of Wugu Valley. This incident also made Zhou Daocheng very anxious. The same goes for the eldest brother Zhou Daobai. He originally planned to go out to find a second-level weapon refiner to refine the magic weapon, But now that something like this has happened, it is no longer suitable to go out. You must always stay in Foggy Valley and be wary of any monsters that intrude into it. At this time, Zhou Daocheng had to feel lucky. Fortunately, there was a second-level high-grade maze guard Wu Gu who could block most of the monsters, otherwise the situation would only be worse. If it were not Wu Yifang City that faced this situation, but Beifang City without any formation protection, it might have been breached by the second-order monster long ago. However, at this time, Wu Gu was actually quite comfortable. Zhou Daocheng took advantage of the fact that it was still relatively stable, and his eldest brother Zhou Daobai was shouldering the pressure, so he chose to start a retreat at this critical moment. He understood that the more critical the situation was, the more he could not sit still and wait for death. He must seize the time to refine the spirit puppet formation. And there is another very important point. Things like soul are very fragile and cannot be preserved for a long time. If it is left for a long time, the spirituality in it will dissipate and its power will be great. So taking advantage of this time, Zhou Daocheng immediately began to try to arrange it. This extremely powerful formation, while possessing terrifying power, also means that it is far more difficult than other first-level high-grade formations. In fact, just talking about the difficulty of the spirit array and puppet formation itself is no less than that of the Jinzhi formation, which is the top existence among the first-order formations. Nowadays, these two top formations are integrated with each other, and the new formation formed is more complex and cumbersome, and is even infinitely close to the second-order formation. Therefore, it is also a huge challenge for Zhou Daocheng to successfully arrange it. If he can arrange it successfully, it means that his current formation level is infinitely close to that of a second-level formation master. Zhou Daocheng sat cross-legged in the cave of the spiritual beast garden, closed his eyes and began to study the formation, immersing himself in it without daring to be careless. This retreat will take a lot of time. The strange phenomenon among the monsters affects not only Wu Yifang City. The leader of the Dazhu sect, Lin Zioan, looking at the news coming back from his hand, he couldn't help but frown. He raised his eyes and looked deeply at Wu Yifang City to the east, seeming to be thinking about something. Even the forces in Beifang City knew the situation around Wu Yifang City in the shortest time. It was not that they deliberately monitored Wu Yifang City, but as the top forces, they actually knew that Wu Yifang City had more development potential. This is why they chose to reconcile in the end when they could not eliminate or replace Wu Yifang City. In addition, they would also send their own hunting teams to station in Wu Yifang City to hunt monsters there. The appearance of the second-level monster naturally attracted the attention of the leader of the Dazhu sect. However, this old man seemed to know more secrets. His deep eyes looked into the distance, with inexplicable emotional fluctuations in his eyes, and he muttered to himself, "It seems that something is about to appear, and I have to speed up and solve Panhe's trouble as soon as possible. It's just that this matter may still require the help of the Lord of Wugu, but this person is deep-minded and sees the benefits. If you want to ask him for help, you have to think of a way." Then, he suddenly remembered the transaction between the two in his mind. After pondering for a while, the leader of the earthly demon sect seemed to have made a decision, and said to himself, "Although the 5 strands of earthly demon Yunqi are very valuable, if we can deal with Panhe in a short time, it is not impossible." Chapter 221 Development Trends. If there is no other way, Lin Zioan is unwilling to cooperate with Wugu Market. Although the two sides are temporarily at peace, their relationship is definitely not as good as wearing the same pants, and they don't know each other very well. Even if they cooperate with each other, they need to consider each other's character. Otherwise, not only will it be difficult to achieve their own goals, but they may also be calculated by villains, which will not be worth the loss. As the leader of Yinshao sect, he knows very well that a person who can build a market must have extraordinary abilities and means. It must be a very troublesome thing to cooperate with such a person. So if possible, he still wants to do his best to complete this matter. Having made up his mind, Lin Zioan's eyes condensed slightly and said to the outside of the house, "Lu Zhao, you continue to send people to find Panhe's whereabouts. If there are any signs, report to me immediately." An old voice came from outside the house, saying, as ordered by the leader, "But this person is extremely cautious. I am afraid there will be no results. Just do your best. If you really can't do it, I will find another way." 3 months passed quickly. On the surface, everything was very stable, and nothing major happened. Beifang City and Wuyifang City were both operating and developing in an orderly manner, without major contradictions and conflicts. Of course, this was also due to the stability of the overall environment. The war between King Shan sect and Lingding sect still had no intention of stopping. The front line was like a meat grinder, and a large number of late-stage strongmen continued to die. Therefore, small forces continued to decline, exterminate, and flee, and the number of scattered cultivators continued to increase. The sects and families in King Shan sect withered, and the cultivators were living in poverty, a scene of decline. But it was precisely because of this that Wuyifang City and Beifang City, which were located on the border, achieved unprecedented prosperity and development. A large number of downtrodden forces and cultivators came, making these two markets full of vitality. Some weaker forces that were unwilling to take any risks stayed in Beifang City to survive. Now, with the competition from Wuyifang City, Beifang City no longer dared to adjust prices at will, and the market was much more stable, so many cultivators were willing to stay. Of course, there are also cultivators who are pursuing development, willing to take risks, and have stronger strength. They will go to Wugu market to hunt stronger monsters and find precious natural treasures. Generally speaking, the two major markets have their own characteristics and have all developed well, but the momentum of Wugu market is stronger. However, recently, the situation around Wugu market has continued to deteriorate. There are indeed unknown situations in the east of the Wugu mountains, which have caused the surrounding monsters to begin to migrate outward, resulting in a significant increase in the second-level monsters around Wugu market. As time goes on, Zhou Daocheng has also explored many times, and with the time of the foundation building period, he has barely understood some of the situation. In the deeper places in the east, it seems that there is a strong yin energy, which has caused many monsters to die. But the specific situation cannot be understood too clearly, and Zhou Daocheng is in seclusion, so Zhou Daocheng dare not leave for too long. He must stay in the east of Wugu to guard against monsters invading the formation. In these few months, there have been 6 cases of second-level monsters entering the formation, but for safety reasons, Zhou Daocheng did not attack to kill them, but drove them away directly. Several first-level top-grade monsters also appeared, and Zhou Daocheng hunted them without hesitation, just harvesting a batch of flesh and blood and monster materials. However, Wuyifang City can survive among a large number of monsters with the formation and the protection of the foundation building masters, but many small forces find it difficult to do so. Recently, many small sects, small families, and casual cultivation teams active around Wuyifang City have been attacked by monsters and suffered heavy losses in the end. But it is precisely in this situation that the value of formations and spirit beasts is revealed. Many forces with cave-type formations happened to rest in the formations. After being discovered by monsters, they barely blocked the attack with the formations and had time to escape in time. Moreover, because they rested in the cave-type formations every night, they were in good physical condition and could resist in time. Therefore, in the face of emergencies, the probability of survival is often higher. As for spirit beasts, the role of soul-devouring ants is also very large. On the one hand, spirit beasts are more sensitive in the wild and are easier to find a safe environment. Moreover, after being tamed, soul-devouring ants can be on guard around and remind the cultivators in time when there is danger approaching. Therefore, although there are more powerful monsters around, the business of Wuyifang City has not only not withered, but has become more and more popular. Even though the price has been forced to increase by more than 30%, there are still a large number of cultivators scrambling for them, including the 5 major foundation building forces in Beifang City. They also sent people to buy formations and spirit beasts, and took advantage of the increase in the number of monsters to increase hunting teams for hunting. However, compared with other forces, the recent behavior of the Dazhou sect is worth pondering. On the one hand, They began to want Pan-He on a large scale among the casual cultivators, without hiding anything. As long as someone provides Pan-He's location, they can get their spirit stone reward. This puzzled many people. What kind of hatred made the Dazhou sect so relentless? On the other hand, the Dazhou sect may be stronger. They did not hunt monsters around the Fog Valley. Instead, under the leadership of the Dazhou sect leader, they went deep into the east many times and even directly entered the east great wilderness. They went there twice and got something. They hunted 2 second-level monsters, showing their strong strength. However, at this time, Pan-He, who is wanted by the Dazhou sect, broke news. It is said that the Dazhou sect is looking for the remains of a powerful force in the east great wilderness. This news also attracted the attention of many people, but because there was no evidence, it did not cause any waves in the end. Many cultivators and forces only thought that there was a conflict between the Dazhou sect and Pan-He, and they were just throwing dirty water on each other. The overall situation was generally stable, but there were also waves. After 3 months, a long-sealed cave in the Spirit Beast Garden in the Fog Valley Market was also opened at this time. Zhou Daocheng stretched his waist and looked at the sunlight shining on the Spirit Beast Garden, a scene full of vitality. After 3 months of retreat, he finally learned how to set up the spiritual puppet formation and successfully set it up. This formation, which allowed him to have the strength of the foundation building stage in advance during the chi refining stage, also made him full of confidence at this moment. From now on, the strength of him, the Lord of the Fog Valley, has finally barely reached the foundation building stage. After leaving the cave, Zhou Daocheng took a general look at the Spirit Beast Garden. Everything here was well organized, and some small trees were planted around, and the greening was done very well. It seems that Yunzhi is usually busy and has made the environment here very good. Zhou Daocheng was in a very good mood. The mirage cloud python cup senses Zhou Daocheng's breath and swam over quickly, entwining Zhou Daocheng's feet with an intimate look. Chapter 222, Changes of the Purple-Armored Spirit-Devouring Ant. However, the mirage cloud python crawled out of the pond, and the water on its body directly wet Zhou Daocheng's pants. Zhou Daocheng shook his head helplessly, threw it off his legs, and then took some fresh blood and flesh from the storage bag to feed the mirage cloud python as meat. This little snake grew very fast. After only half a year, it had grown to a length of 2 meters, and its strength was close to the first-level middle grade. Conservatively estimated, its comprehensive strength now should be able to reach about the 3rd level of chi refining. Gnawing on the blood and flesh rich in spiritual energy, the little snake shook its head with effort and kept tearing the blood and flesh apart. The blood and flesh of the 2nd-level demon beast black eye ghost scale snake is a very luxurious food for the little mirage cloud python. If it is eaten for a long time, it will be a great help to improve its strength. Without paying much attention to the mirage cloud python that was eating, Zhou Daocheng walked into a cave covered by trees. Now in the entire Spirit Beast Garden, there are only 2 kinds of spirit beasts living: mirage cloud python and purple armor devouring spirit ant. This cave is the ant nest of the purple armored spirit swallowing ants. As soon as you enter it, you can only feel a dim light until the luminous stone illuminates the surrounding environment, and you can see the situation clearly. The ant nest is still made of spiritual fertile soil, but it can be clearly seen that there are already many purple-armored spirit-swallowing ants coming and going, and they have begun to work in the ant nest. Although most of them are still only the 1st grade lower grade, they at least have a complete system and can start to collect spiritual honey around to supply the development of the entire ant nest. Now, he does not need to continue to supply spiritual honey, and can be completely self-sufficient, and even gradually produce spiritual honey. Checking the number, it is found that there are more than 8,000 purple-armored spirit-swallowing ants in the entire ant nest. It will not take long for the number to exceed 10,000. Among them, 90% are the 1st grade lower grade, with relatively weak strength. They are mainly used to collect spiritual honey and are in work all their lives. In addition, there are more than 200 1st-grade middle-grade purple-armored spirit-swallowing ants. Generally speaking, the role of the 1st-level middle-grade swallowing spirit ants is mostly to protect the 1st-level and 1st-level lower-grade ant colonies that go out to collect honey and ensure their safety. However, there is no danger at all in Zhou Daocheng's territory now, so these first-level middle-grade ant colonies are also collecting spiritual honey. And after a period of observation, Zhou Daocheng found that their way of collecting spiritual honey is very special. It should be a new way of collecting honey developed based on the special environment of the Fog Valley. However, this way of collecting honey is a bit ambiguous. First of all, they usually collect honey at night, and they act in pairs. Two purple armored swallowing spirit ants will come together under the night, then rub their bodies against each other and keep shaking. At first, when Zhou Daocheng saw this scene, his old face blushed, thinking that he had seen something extraordinary and was a little embarrassed. But then he thought, hey, this situation is a bit wrong. They are not queen ants, and they don't have the ability to mate. What kind of fun games are they playing here? But after observing for a while, he discovered the secret. The two purple armored spirit swallowing ants kept rubbing each other's hard shells on their backs, which kept raising the temperature of the shells. This created a significant temperature difference with the low temperature of the foggy valley at night. Next, they would slowly wait for the fog to condense on the back of the shells under the cover of night, forming small water droplets with spiritual energy. Then, they would collect these spiritual water droplets from each other and bring them back to the ant nest to brew spiritual honey. Using this method to collect and brew spiritual honey actually has great benefits. First, the collection speed is faster, the quantity is larger, and it is inexhaustible, which can almost increase the efficiency by more than 2 or 3 times. Secondly, the concentration of spiritual energy in the spirit beast garden is very high, which can reach the level of the second grade upper grade, so the spiritual water droplets obtained by this method are also of extraordinary quality. Therefore, even the spiritual honey brewed by the first grade lower grade purple armored spirit swallowing ants can barely reach the first grade middle grade. This is definitely a pleasant surprise, and this brewing method is also very good for the development of the ant colony, which can quickly improve the strength of the ant colony and expand the tribe. However, what surprised Zhou Daocheng the most was not just this peculiar way of making honey, but how could this group of purple armored spirit swallowing ants, whose intelligence was not very high, come up with this method? He also personally asked the queen ant, but judging from the consciousness transmitted back, this was not the method that the queen ant came up with. Moreover, the queen ant itself is only responsible for reproducing offspring and sending ant colonies to find spiritual objects. As for which method to use to collect spiritual honey, it is the work of the ant colony itself. It is obvious that this method, which is extremely logical and requires extremely high intelligence to come up with, was thought up by the first-grade purple armored spirit swallowing ants themselves. This discovery was enough to make Zhou Daocheng marvel at this. This means that this group of purple armored spirit swallowing ants, which do not have much intelligence, have begun to breed spiritual intelligence after using the innate purple qi. In order to explore this situation, Zhou Daocheng specifically found a first-grade purple qi spirit swallowing ant of inferior quality and tried to use the spiritual secret method to explore their spiritual emotions. Just a quick look and he found something unusual. The originally extremely weak spirit has now become much stronger. The wisdom of ordinary soul-devouring ants is definitely not as good as that of monsters of the same level, and they usually only follow the command of the queen ant. However, the spiritual power of the purple armored spirit swallowing ants is almost the same as that of monsters of the same level. What does this mean? Zhou Daocheng originally thought it was nothing, but after thinking deeply, he discovered the terrifying nature of this ability. The most obvious thing is that they can better understand the instructions of the queen ant, complete various tasks better, and adapt themselves. For example, this new way of collecting honey is a new method they think of in group cooperation. And the change of thinking will affect the body. In the process of using their own shells to collect mist, they will have extremely simple thoughts. For example, why can't the shell be bigger? Can't it be flatter, or have the function of self-heating? It is precisely because of this constant thinking that in the next reproduction, this purple armored spirit swallowing ant that specializes in collecting spiritual honey will give birth to a flatter, larger, and more suitable shell for collecting spiritual honey. And because the number of group B is large enough, so that they all have similar needs. It is very likely that their own body will develop in a certain direction. And this phenomenon has indeed appeared. In the entire ant nest. The main work of the first-level low-grade and first-level middle-grade purple armored spirit-swallowing ants is to collect spiritual honey. Zhou Daocheng found through inspection and comparison that their shells are obviously flat and have a much larger area, which is more suitable for friction and convenience for condensing water droplets. Chapter 223 Zhou Daocheng and number 039:S knife. However, the first-level high-grade purple armored swallowing spirit ants usually have a main job of guarding the queen and protecting the safety of the ant nest. So their images are completely different. Their bodies are stronger and their sizes are much larger, but this is not the point. Zhou Daocheng was surprised to find that their carapace had not changed at all and had a rounded arc, making it more suitable for defense. Moreover, their mouthparts and forelimbs are obviously stronger and should be used for fighting. These discoveries made Zhou Daocheng's excited hands tremble slightly. These changes seemed insignificant, but they played a vital role in future development. This means that the purple armored swallowing spirit ants will have an unlimited future. If possible, the purple armored spirit devouring ants used for logistics and resource collection will evolve capabilities in this area to achieve higher efficiency. The purple armored spirit devouring ants used for fighting, guarding, and exploration will also evolve corresponding abilities. Even if they want to adapt to the fire environment, they will gradually acquire fire attributes according to their own thinking. This is not just thinking, but also the ability in their blood. They have stronger adaptability and more variable survivability. Now it is only the first level low grade. If it grows to the second level or even the third level, these characteristics will become more and more obvious. After discovering these secrets, Zhou Daocheng became more confident about the future of the purple armored spirit devouring ant colony. If everything goes well, it will take at most 2 to 3 years before the spirit-swallowing ant colony can begin to reproduce first-level, high-grade spirit-swallowing ants on a large scale. At the same time, second-level spirit-devouring ants can also be reproduced with difficulty. In terms of overall strength, they should be similar to the spirit-devouring ant colonies that were once wiped out. At that time, we can cooperate with Zhou Daocheng to protect Wuge from being invaded by monsters. After Zhou Daocheng left some first-order high-grade spiritual honey, he carefully exited the ant nest. Then, we went to the elixir garden in the north of Wugefang City. As soon as I entered it, I was attracted by the vibrant scene with lush foliage. Although the spiritual beast garden is also decorated with many spiritual plants, after all, only a small part is used for decoration. But the elixir garden is completely different. It is already full of various elixirs and plants, and it is lush. Coupled with several quaint small houses nearby, it adds a bit of life. Zhou Daocheng turned around and found that his elder brother Zhou Daobai was not here. He should be stationed in Fang City recently to be wary of incoming second-level monsters. Therefore, there are only 4 children living here in the elixir garden now. Zhu Daowen and Lin Qingshu, one of them was practicing and the other was studying formations. They lived a typical otaku life and didn't even notice Zhou Daocheng's arrival. Only Zhou Daocheng was practicing sword skills outside. When he saw Zhou Daocheng approaching, he hurriedly stepped forward and saluted. "Brother 6, why are you here? Come in and sit down." Although Zhou Daocheng is still young, he is mature, greeting him like a little adult. Zhou Daocheng smiled, waved his hand to signal not to enter the room, and asked, "Tao Ziyu, what kind of sword skills are you practicing? Why haven't Brother 6 seen this before?" Zhou Daocheng scratched his head and said, "It's not a powerful technique sword, I just thought about it casually." Zhou Daocheng looked surprised and joked, "Think about it by yourself? Are you going to create a knife spell by yourself?" Zhou Daocheng looked surprised and joked, "Think about it by yourself? Are you going to create a knife spell by yourself?" Daocheng looked embarrassed, but he still said seriously, "What's wrong with this? Uncle Yushan's sword skills are not suitable for me. They are too crude and straightforward. They just rely on strength to chop randomly, which is not in line with my understanding of sword skills." "Oh, do you still have your own understanding of sword skills?" Zhou Daocheng asked with a smile. Zhou Daocheng thought for a moment, and with a straight and determined face, he said seriously, "I think sword skills should be combined with strength and skill. It is not just a matter of opening and closing, but every move must be purposeful, rhythmic, and fast!" Moreover, sword skill lies in precision, not in quantity. If you swing your sword randomly, no matter how many chops you make, it will be meaningless. If you refine it to the extreme, everything is contained in one sword. As long as you pay attention to the timing, one sword is stronger than 100 swords. Initially, Zhou Daocheng only listened with curiosity, but after only listening to a few words, his expression changed, because Zhou Daocheng is not talking nonsense, but truly has his own understanding, his own thoughts, and his own knowledge of sword techniques. This is an extremely valuable thing. Many people have used the knife all their lives and think they have gone a long way on this road, but in fact they still can't figure out the way. He just followed the example of his predecessors and imitated other people's sword skills, but he never learned the essence of it. Meng Yushan is this type of person. When he first entered the world of immortality, the first magical weapon he used was a knife. He usually uses sword weapons when fighting monks and monsters. After decades of training, you have given him superb sword skills, with great open and close skills, and majestic momentum. Although he has not specifically learned sword spells, his power is very impressive. However, in Zhou Daocheng's eyes, Meng Yushan's swordsmanship is just strength, without rules or techniques. Zhou Daocheng knows Zhou Daocheng's character very well. He is not a proud person, and he does not like to make random judgments. Since he said this, it is indeed sincere. And I don't have any selfish motives, I just do what I think in my heart. Tao Ziyu, then show me the moves you just thought about, and let Brother Six have a look. Zhou Daocheng nodded, his childish face full of seriousness. He raised the long knife in his hand and demonstrated a few simple moves. Zhou Daocheng frowned slightly, carefully checked the deep meaning, and soon realized that it was unusual. If you just look at the moves, there is nothing unusual, and it even looks extremely ordinary, nothing special. Strictly speaking, it is far inferior to Meng Yushan's gorgeous and exquisite swordsmanship. It looks like a beginner, just simple chopping, slashing, stabbing, etc. But if you look closely, you will find that each move is very complicated, and it seems to contain deep meaning. Although it is still very immature, it does have some tricks. The knife is very slow, but it seems to have strong power. But not long after, Zhou Daocheng's face showed a touch of embarrassment, because he was surprised to find that he himself didn't seem to understand it. He knows nothing about swordsmanship and has never touched it. Not to mention swordsmanship, he doesn't know other fighting skills. After all, since he started to venture out, his fighting methods are all the same, that is, formation plus power. The formation is the main means of combat, and the power Wu Tu Kun Yu Gong protects itself and has an indestructible defense. As for his comprehension, it was mostly used in formations and cultivation. So for a field he had never touched before, he could only barely see that Zhou Daocheng's swordsmanship was unusual, but he couldn't tell what was so unusual about it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Big White Fat Chicken. In desperation, he couldn't give you any advice. He just patted Zhou Daocheng on the shoulder and encouraged, "Daocheng, Brother Six is not good at swordsmanship. I can't give you much advice, but the path you are taking is not wrong. Everyone should have their own ideas and understanding of the path they want to take. They may make mistakes, but as long as they keep going, there will be results." In terms of training resources, Zhou Daocheng can be as satisfied as possible, but with sword skills, Zhou Daocheng can only encourage him mentally. He also believed that this kid Zhou Daocheng might really be able to find his own path in swordsmanship. It's not because of how talented he is, but because he is calm-minded, has a stable and mature mind, and can study his own path step by step. This is a rare quality that many people lack. This is very similar to Zhou Daocheng, at least in their respective fields of expertise. They are willing to conduct in-depth research and discover things that others have not discovered. The same is true for the fusion formation, and the same is true for the creative sword technique. In comparison, Lin Qingsai's little girl is much better than Zhou Daocheng in terms of both cultivation and combat talents. It's just that her personality is too outgoing, and she rarely calms down to study her own abilities. Most of the time, she relies on instinct, which is actually a big shortcoming. When he mentioned Lin Qingsai, Zhou Daocheng was suddenly startled and looked around the valley, only to realize that he did not see Lin Qingsai's figure. Zhou Daocheng asked curiously, "Dao Ziyu, where is your sister Changzai?" Zhou Daocheng was stunned and said, "I don't know about this either. Sister Changzai rarely stays here. She often runs out early in the morning and usually comes back at night." Hearing this, Zhou Daocheng's face turned green. Run out early in the morning and come back at night? How about going out early and coming back late all day long, working 9 to 5? Those who don't know think where she works. Her life is so regular. Really worried, Zhou Daocheng immediately began to explore the surrounding mountains. As a result, he walked for more than 5 kilometers before he found Lin Qingsai, who was hunting monsters in the northern mountains. When Zhou Daocheng arrived, Lin Qingsai was holding up his huge axe and slashing at a huge demon wolf. The little girl's seemingly slender arms suddenly revealed angular muscles, and the terrifying power directly chopped the demon wolf dozens of meters away. Then, the little girl ran over, imitated the adults, and started collecting monster resources. Zhou Daocheng was immediately helpless. This little girl was quite presentable, and looking at the way she hunted monsters, she was extremely skillful, not like a beginner at all. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng was surprised to find that this little girl had successfully broken through to the 4th level of qi refining and became a strong person in the middle stage of qi refining. At her current age, it is not easy to have such strong strength. Although he was somewhat impressed, Zhou Daocheng deliberately walked up with a dark face and coughed several times to interrupt Lin Qingsai's movements. Hearing the person coming from behind, Lin Qingsai's body froze instantly, and he froze in place with some fear. Brother, because Lin Qingsai is not a member of the Zhou family, he is not ranked in the Zhou family's generation. Most of the time, he calls Zhou Dao his eldest brother. Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng call them 6th brother most of the time. Zhou Daocheng walked all the way behind her with a cold face and said, "Changzai, why did you sneak out again? Have you practiced well recently?" Lin Qingsai looked embarrassed, pursed his lips and said, "Brother, staying in the elixir garden is too boring, and meditation practice is too slow to improve my strength, so it is not suitable for me at all." Zhou Daocheng shook his head helplessly. He probably knew about this little girl's situation. She couldn't take any time off and was unwilling to practice in seclusion. But the strange thing is that she can easily increase her strength by hunting monsters every day, and even become faster. Seeing that Zhou Daocheng didn't refute him, Lin Qingsai became even more enthusiastic and said confidently, "Besides, wild animals are rampant here, so I came here to clean it up, just so I can give my brothers an extra meal. Otherwise the food here is too bad." Zhou Daocheng's face darkened, and he gave her a headache. "Who told you to go out at will? Do you know where this is?" "This is the outskirts of the eastern Great Wilderness. There are even many 2nd-level monsters. Just rely on you to refine it. A person with a 4th-level qi cultivation will be eaten sooner or later until even his bones are left." Although she didn't make any big mistakes, Zhou Daocheng still had to curse a few times. After all, this little girl is really too courageous, so she needs to be hammered a lot to save her from pushing further. Lin Qingsai curled his lips angrily. "No way. I am very careful when hunting monsters. I will never provoke those who are stronger than me. I only hunt monsters that are weaker, but taste good and nutritious." "Does this demon wolf taste good? Is it rich in nutrients?" Zhou Daocheng glared at her. The little girl said stubbornly, "Isn't there no big fat white chicken today? Otherwise, I would definitely not hunt this demon wolf. The meat is sour and not as delicious as the big fat white chicken." Big fat white chicken? Suddenly, Zhou Daocheng heard a word that interested him, and asked curiously, "What big fat white chicken?" "Oh, It's a kind of chicken that often appears nearby. It's white and fat, and it's not very strong, but the meat is plump. After eating it, your body will be stronger, Lin Qingsai said honestly. Just as he was talking, he saw a white bird flying out of the clouds and mist on the mountain peak not far away, fluttering its wings and flying over the cliff. Brother, look, it's this big white fat chicken. I'll catch it for you right now. Before Zhou Daocheng could react, Lin Qingsai had already rushed out, but with his quick eyesight and quick hands, he quickly slipped him back. With a dark face, he directly used the clouds and mist to trap the white bird, and then easily caught it back. Taking it in his hand, he glanced briefly at it, and Zhou Daocheng also showed a surprised expression. Hey, this kind of spiritual bird is so fat. After thinking for a long time, Zhou Daocheng couldn't find a suitable adjective. He could only say that he was white, fat, and cute. He also didn't understand, how could such a fat bird fly? But no wonder Lin Qingsai calls it a big white fat chicken, which is indeed appropriate. The white feathers, round belly, plump and strong wings and chicken legs make it look very plump at first glance. Moreover, this seems to be a brand new species that Zhou Daocheng has never seen before. As he looked at it, an idea suddenly came to Zhou Daocheng's mind. Asked, Qingsai, are there many of these big white fat chickens in the nearby area? Lin Qingsai, who was lifted up and slipped into the air, nodded and said seriously, there are still quite a few, although they are not in groups. We can see a few every day. Chapter 225 Purple Air and Green Spirit Bamboo Forest. Zhou Daocheng nodded. It seemed that this should be a group of monsters that just entered the north of the Wugu Mountains and settled here. It must be said that because the number of monsters has been increasing recently, there have been many more monsters in the mountains around the Wugu. However, Zhou Daocheng did not have so much energy to manage. After all, the area of the entire Wugu Mountains is too large. If he guarded it all the time, he would not have so much energy and ability. Therefore, most of the time, he just asked his eldest brother Zhou Daobai to drive away the second-level monsters. As for the weaker first-level monsters, they could stay in the valley. If there's time, the hunting team can also hunt and replenish food. And this big white fat chicken is one of the monsters that strayed in recently. After Zhou Daocheng thought for a moment, he continued to circle around a few times, and there were still many monsters here, including this big white fat chicken. He also found several of them, and did not let any of them go, and caught them all. And judging from the quality, there should be quite a few of these monsters, because there are not only first-grade inferior ones, but also first-grade middle grade and first-grade superior white fat chickens. It took just over an hour to catch more than a dozen of them, of different qualities, and both male and female. This scene made Lin Qingsai's eyes go blank. She usually couldn't bear to catch so many, and she didn't have the ability to catch so many. After all, although this kind of big white fat chicken is fat, it can still fly, so it is very difficult to catch it. With her strength, at most she can catch the first-grade inferior ones, so she has been coveting the higher quality big white fat chickens for a long time. Brother, you caught so many at once. We can store them in the ice storage and eat them slowly later. Zhou Daocheng flicked her head again and rejected her proposal righteously. Killing them in the ice storage? It's just killing the chicken to get the eggs. Such high-quality spiritual birds are naturally impossible to kill directly, but are very suitable for captivity. In the current spiritual beast garden, only the mirage cloud python and the purple armored spirit devouring ant live, and these two can't be eaten. In the future, this big white fat chicken can be domesticated. If it can be formed to a certain scale, it can be regarded as a good economic benefit, and it should be very good for personal use. Usually, another resource can be obtained: spiritual eggs. These are very high-quality resources in the world of cultivation. Especially for children, meat may be difficult to digest and not suitable for large-scale consumption. But spiritual eggs are obviously better. Not only does it have rich spiritual energy, but it is also extremely easy to absorb. Lin Qingsai, this little girl, only knows how to eat meat, and doesn't know about spiritual eggs at all. However, Zhou Daocheng must not kill the goose to get the eggs, and must consider long-term development. Having made up his mind, Zhou Daocheng directly carried Lin Qingxi and a dozen big white fat chickens back to the spiritual beast garden. His mind now was all on this big white fat chicken. After returning to the spirit beast garden, he began to get busy, and asked the little girl Lin Qingxi to help him build a cage for the spiritual birds. Then, he named this big white fat chicken that he had never seen before White Feather Spirit Chicken. Because many white feather spirit chickens are of high quality and large in size, Zhou Daocheng was worried that they would escape, so he had to use high-quality wood to build a large cage. This cost him a lot of energy, and it took him most of the day to officially domesticate this spiritual bird in the spirit beast garden. Fortunately, this monster has a docile personality. After feeding some spiritual grains, it did not make too much noise and stayed in the cage peacefully. At this time, Zhou Daocheng also carefully examined this monster and found that it was indeed a very good spiritual bird. Not only was it docile, it had a lot of meat, and even the quality of its feathers was superior. Each feather was very wide and thick. Although it was not helpful for flying, it was indeed a very good choice if used to refine magic tools. Especially for arrow feathers of bows and arrows. This kind of feather is very suitable. However, if you want to domesticate them on a large scale, the cost should not be low, because Zhou Daocheng took a rough look and found that they have a large appetite and need to consume a lot of spiritual grains and some vegetables. If everything goes well, the spiritual medicine garden should be able to meet the needs. If not, they must go to the market to buy them. After thinking for a while, Zhou Daocheng took Lin Qingxi back to the spiritual medicine garden to see how the spiritual medicines planted there are growing. Previously, he was busy looking for Lin Qingxi and catching the white-feathered spiritual chicken, which delayed his time and he was unable to check it properly. But the spiritual medicine garden is still very important and it is necessary to pay special attention to it. When he returned again, Zhou Daocheng checked every spiritual medicine planted. The lower quality moonlight grass and yellow thorn vine have the fastest growth rate and can be harvested in a short time. However, the yellow thorn vine has higher quality requirements, so it should be cultivated for a longer period of time to make the quality reach the first-class top grade as much as possible. As for the other spiritual plants, red life flower, purple jade spiritual rice, and black puppet wood are all growing vigorously, but because of their high quality, they still have a long time to mature, and it can be seen that the leaves of some crops are a little withered and yellow, not particularly strong, which should be a problem of malnutrition. Although the concentration of spiritual energy here is very rich, the growth of spiritual plants does not only require spiritual energy, but also requires other elements. It seems that it is necessary to prepare some growth liquid, which should be able to speed up growth and supplement nutrients. Zhou Daocheng thought about it, and thought of the green heron fertilizer liquid in Baline Lake. It is a growth liquid prepared from the feces of the green-winged heron. It can improve the nutrients of the spiritual field to a certain extent and supplement various substances needed for growth. And most importantly, the raw materials are abundant and can be used in large quantities. Zhou Daocheng also planned that if anyone returns to Bailin Lake recently, he can bring a group over. Among all the spiritual plants, the only one that has changed a lot and brought a big surprise to Zhou Daocheng is the purple qi green bamboo. Previously, the purple qi green bamboo had been living in underground caves with a low concentration of spiritual energy and no sunlight. It had not grown for a long time. However, after moving to the elixir garden, with a richer aura and a more superior living environment, it immediately regained its vitality. The leaves are much greener, the purple lines on the bamboo trunks are more vivid, and even the quality is constantly improving. The one with the highest quality has reached the second level mid-grade, with a height of more than 6 meters. The diameter of the bamboo trunk can reach 10 centimeters, and it looks very strong. This is completely different from the biling bamboo variety, and belongs to a brand new type of bamboo. It is very good in terms of toughness, hardness and spirituality. It is a precious spiritual creature of heaven and earth. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.